Experience the world's most legendary racing events with iRacing. iRacing special events allow any member to compete in full-length multiplayer races based on some of the biggest events in motorsports all year round. Compete in virtual endurance races, such as the Daytona 24, Spa 24, and the Nürburgring 24 Hours. Take on some of the toughest races on the NASCAR schedule, such as the Daytona 500. We have events from disciplines all across the racing world, from the Indianapolis 500 to the Chili Bowl, from the Bathurst 1000 to the Crandon Championship. Our endurance special events utilize iRacing's team feature, where members can sign up and race together on their own team, swapping drivers throughout the race. Other events utilize iRacing Super Sessions, where you're not only racing against those on track, but against every driver taking part. And as every race progresses, watch and feel the track change with progressive time of day, dynamic weather and rain, and dynamic track debris and surface changes. Take on your favorite discipline or try a brand new racing challenge with our biggest races of the year, the iRacing Special Events. Learn more at iracing.com/special-events.
Good evening, everyone, and when it comes to racing here at the World Center of Racing at Daytona, there is one thing that you can think of: racing in July at Daytona, as RaceSpotTV proudly presents the iRacing Firecracker 400, a special event presented with iRacing here on RaceSpotTV. Good evening, everyone. My name is Taylor Burris, and joining me in the booth is Alex Goldschmidt as we get set for 400 grueling miles here in the hot and humid Daytona Beach, Florida. And Alex, I gotta say, this event was one that I was looking forward to because we get to celebrate some history on a very historic week as we celebrate 250 years here in America and get set to celebrate it with some loud, thundering, roaring engines at the World Center of Racing.
Yes, indeed, Taylor. Good evening, everybody. Yeah, we're going to be seeing the 1987 NASCAR Cup Series legend cars, including the Buick LeSabre, the Ford Thunderbird, the Pontiac Grand Prix, and the Chevy Monte Carlo car. This is going to be where mechanical grip is going to be crucial for all the drivers tonight, because we will see a lot of slipstreaming around this 2.5 mile oval.
Absolutely, here as we take a look at our 2026 special event calendar. And of course, we're going to kick things off in the month of July with the Firecracker 400. Of course, we have several other events kicking off later on in July with the Spa 24, the Brickyard 400, and the 6 Hours of Road America, all happening within this month. And it's going to be an exciting one to watch indeed as we bring you all the action here on RaceSpot. Currently, qualifying is underway for our drivers, and it is going to be incredible to see. Here's the breakdown of tonight's event. 3 minutes for the warm-up, followed by a 2-lap qualifying session with 160 laps to test the might of every single one of these drivers competing here. Of course, the splits are separated by your iRating, and of course, this is a single driver event. 43 drivers set to do battle with 9 sets of tires here, and it's going to be an exciting racing action. It's all about that mechanical grip. We're going to be seeing speeds in excess of over 200 miles per hour as we take a look at qualifying right now. Alexander Cortez currently sits atop the leaderboard right now with a 42-second lap time, and these drivers here just trying to find that little extra to be one of the lucky drivers on the front row to call the action and bring us to the green flag.
Yeah, looks like Corey Stewart is not that far away from Alexander Cortez, but then you look at the gaps, they are starting to bridge out a little bit. I mean, looking between Eric Harmon and Nathan Anderson, you're looking at just over half a second as Wyatt Dooling in the number 11 trying to go his way around in this car, and we're going to see, as you rightly said there, Taylor, over speeds of 200 miles an hour. And of course, one of the beautiful things about seeing these old NASCAR Cup legend cars in action here at Daytona, who'd have thought it? My first ever iRacing special event, and it just happens to be on an oval track. Now, that's probably, you might be thinking, why is there a British guy talking about oval racing, well, I've really come to love all kinds of different racing apart from the traditional road courses or circuit racing over here in continental Europe. But to have an opportunity to commentate on something like this is a real privilege for me.
Absolutely here. And when it comes to racing with these cars, which were released on the iRacing service back in 2020 during the pandemic, during the time where we saw this car along with the North Wilkesboro Speedway come on board, it was a fan favorite. But now it's time to give you your starting lineup for today's action. And on the pole position with a time of a 42.925 is Alexander Cortez, followed by Corey Stewart in second place. Samuel Elliott and Eric Harmon will be row 2, followed by Nathan Anderson and Dylan Archer in row 3.
Yeah, then we go to row 4. Nicholas Warner and Wyatt Dewling on that row, ahead of Eddie Dice and Braden Fowler, with Andrew Liskowski and David Johnson bringing up the end of row number 6.
Moving on into row 7, we'll find Matthew Kinley and Callum Qualkin, who is going to be in 14th, followed by Jason Wilkinson and Adam Taylor Wheeling in 16th position. Row 9, we'll find, of course, the driver of Eric Paczynski and Dale Flemke in 18th position.
Then on the remainder of the starting grid, it looks like Matthew Stewart in the number 41, Donald Johnson in the 29, rounding out the top 20. The number 7 of Justin R. Williams with Esau King in the number 20, rounding out row 11. And Rick L. Kennedy Jr. in the number 39, bringing up the 23rd spot on the grid.
Really incredible drive here as we're getting set to go racing for 160 laps, 400 miles. And of course, for those of you wondering, well, why is this race not happening during the nighttime like what we normally would see? Well, it wasn't until 1998 when we saw the lights come on for the first time here at Daytona International Speedway. And of course, here back in the 80s, from then on, it was, of course, happening during the daytime. So just imagine those temperatures rising, of course, adding in the humidity. You're looking at over 100 degrees track temperatures. Those drivers, if they were in the real cars right now, sweltering as they sit on pit road to get set to head out onto the racetrack.
Yeah, and with my recent travels around continental Europe, I mean, that's not, if it was real life there, Taylor, those drivers would be probably finding temperatures north of 120 degrees Fahrenheit in the cockpits. But, one of the good things, as we always see, there's the pace truck leading the field onto the circuit.
Yes, they work their way through. It's going to be an exciting one here as we see our pace truck driver lead the way out onto the circuit here. Of course, this is about the middle split of drivers here, so not really some of our top split drivers, but we're giving a little bit of love to some of our drivers throughout the field. So you might see some familiar faces, familiar names, but also, of course, some new faces, some new names here on the Racespot broadcast here as we get set for the action. Of course, 43 drivers getting ready to put on one heck of a show. Tires are going to be critical here for these drivers because they are going to be sawing on these wheels through the middle of the corners here. You can only really go flat out on these cars for a couple of laps, and then those tires are really going to start pushing you up the racetrack for sure. So it is going to be an exciting full house as we run the original layout here on the iRacing service, the 2008 edition here with Daytona International Speedway as they work their way over towards turn 3 of the.
Yeah, this back stretch is going to be really, really crucial to line up a move into turns 3 and 4, and then of course the famed tri-oval is going to be one of those things that the drivers are going to have to really have their mind out of it. So it's just going to be a case of what might be will be here.
Absolutely. As we watch these drivers getting themselves ready to go, we see a couple of historical paint schemes. We'll touch on them. Also notice some of the red, white, and blue from some of our American drivers getting set to do battle here as they head off a turn number 4. We'll see the pace car driver make the hard left turn down onto pit road as Barney the Flagman will have the green flag set to go and get ready for action here at Daytona. 4th of July style. 400 miles of freedom. We're getting set. Green flag is out, and we are underway for the Firecracker 400. Oh, trouble. One driver already struggling off of the corner as he tries to get himself under control. We will stand on green as he keeps it below the line. find who was that driver as they work their way through. Keeping an eye on the action here as they work their way through the turn 1 and 2.
Yeah, just keeping an eye on it at the moment. Looks like it might have been the number 3 that might have got a little bit of a hip check, and that would, well, that's Octavio Rondoletto now. Yeah, so now we're actually, yeah, we've got Logan Helton leading the way, but now he's been overtaken by the 32. Brandon Hayes Ketterly leading the way. Alex Linney in P3. Octavio Rondoletto was at the sharp end of the field, starting on pole, now drops to P5.
This here is the top split that we're watching right now, and these are some of the biggest heavy hitters you'll see on the iRacing service as Brandon Cattell, former NASCAR competitor, leads the opening lap. He's got Logan Helton and Alex Linney right there. As them side by side right there with Aaron Smith in the 4th position in that bright number yellow 70, as now Cattell drops down to the bottom of the racetrack to try to shut the door in front of Alex as they rocket their way up turn number 2. Excessive speeds of 210 miles per hour as they head up the banking of turn 3.
Yeah, right about bottom part of the top 15. I noticed, Taylor, that some of them were going 3 abreast, 3 wide. That's not an easy thing to do coming out of turn 2 onto the back stretch, but Ketterly still leading the way. He's starting to pull a gap over Linney, but he's got to try and break that toe. But Linney's right on his rear bumper as they will now head into the next part, into the next corner. And again, that high banking, some drivers will find that is going to be a real big push. But Rondoletto down into P6. Brad Newman gets passed by the number 10 of Blake Neer. Look, you can see here that mechanical grip for some starting to work. And then, well, you notice the old Days of Thunder Cole Trickle, the City Chevrolet livery on the number 2 car, Thomas B. Reed. He's now up into 5th position. But at the moment, Ketterly has made 3 places. This is now, look at this, a quintet at the front end of the field here, Taylor. This is Drag Race City.
It certainly is. Everyone's going to be single file, knowing that we have a lot of racing still left to go. Drivers just taking their time, waiting for the right opportunity to make their moves and slingshot past their competitors here. Of course, back in the 1980s, when these cars were the ones that were racing here around the circuit, it was all making sure that you took care of those tires, because these big, heavy stock cars, really you had to crank on the wheel to make sure you could get through the corners, because as you see right now, those cars are going to start to get tighter and tighter, wanting to wash up against that wall off corner exit here. So it's so critical to try and hug that yellow line as best that you can. Right now, Cattell, though, being a little bit of the piper, trying to make sure no one finds their way around and holds position. Meanwhile, a hornet's nest a little further on back, just outside of the top 10.
Yeah, some movers and shakers up the order. Zach Rage up 10 spots, John Babineau up 7. They're rounding out the top 17 at the minute. Down in 28th spot. Brandon Sox now up 10 positions from 38th on the grid. So we have got some people that go into double digits. But again, number 14 is pulling to the low side, trying to get towards that yellow line, as you said, Taylor. He's got the 24. That would be, I think that's William Tyndall. And he's got Mitch Hughes closing in the 24 to the high side. Again, just hearing the roar of these legendary NASCAR vehicles from the Winston Cup era. And still, Kettle leading the way. Linney is still keeping with him. But look at this. That low side is working well. Very well indeed. And that is going to be James Connolly, I believe. Octavio Rondoletto's now dropped to 7th position. So 6 spots lost in the first 6 laps for the number 3. Who put it on pole. And there goes Mitch Hughes to the low side.
Beautiful pass right there as Rondoletto tries to continue to not lose any more positions here. But for the driver just up ahead of James Connolly, picking him up and putting him down, he'll look to the inside of Brad Newman to move up a further position into the 6th spot. They'll go side by side down the front straightaway as Rondoletto looks to try and find his way around, but he's got to worry about the drivers such as William Tyndall and Blake Neer, who is now looking to the inside. Neer in that number 62 Chevrolet Monte Carlo, trying to hold on for 650 horsepower of that Chevrolet as they come off the back straightaway, heading over into turn 3.
Yeah, this is going to be put your chess pieces in the right place and see if it works early. But of course, when we get to that first set of pit stops, it's going to be a mad dash into pit road to see if you can get your first service and get it done quickly as well. As to the inside, this is going to be really close, side by side for 4th position. That's Conley versus Smith the second. And look at this, Conley is making good use of that low side. Look at the draft he's pulling. The side draft's immense.
He really is getting right up to that quarter panel on the rear and just pulling back his competitors, which helps him out to try and slingshot past a couple of other drivers. Currently, right now, he's trying to find his way around Logan Helton as well as Alex Linney, who he's doing his best, but right now, starting to lose a little bit of touch right now because he has no help to the inside. Everyone's trying to go to the top side, and with these drivers battling, pulling each other back and forth, that is allowing Brandon Cattell to check out a little bit, have a little bit of gap, and of course, just to let some of you guys know, during this period in the 1980s and early 90s, these cars here really had some great ways to where they could pull away from their competition. As we ride on board with the number 7 of Brad Newman representing Australia as he tries to work his way through and has a little bit of help with Logan Helton giving a push to him in his Buick as they work their way back into turn 3, and Cattell drops down to the bottom trying to do everything he can to cut the air off and make sure he gets that push down these straightaways.
Yeah, it looks like we've had a drama for the number 12, Gabriel Pellegrino. Black flag for the number 12 car, so he's been into pit road. Again, it's just nip and tuck. And look at this train. This is what you call pack racing at its very finest, as Pellegrino will rejoin down in last position. But again, it is a case of, you know, where are you going to make the move? As Linney gets through for the race lead in the number 30 car. So change as we go on to lap number 11. The strength of the field that we've got, which is I think over 5k iRacing at the moment here, Taylor, they are putting on a hell of a show as we see a replay. Pellegrino gets a hip check and he is completely sideways, 180 into pit road onto the grass. And that is a big old scare.
Thankfully, though, was able to keep it down on the bottom of the racetrack. Unfortunately, though, that does cost him a excessive speeding on pit road, even though it's none of his own doing. It was due to the fact of the contact that he received. But as we watch side-by-side battle for the race lead, they are 2 abreast as they go down 4 rows deep. And here comes a big push right now from James Connolly, pushing his competitor of Alex Linney up to the front of the field as Brandon Cattell doing everything he can to side draft his competitors, keeping them behind. It is not going to work off turn number 4. Alex Linney looking to lead here on the first time of the race, but as they drag race to the start-finish line, give the lap still to Brandon Cattell.
Yeah, Helton and Conley still embroiled in their battle. It's nearly 3 wide, little bit of a graze. The three drivers, as Brad Newman in the number 7 car, trying to close on in with the quartet up front. But look at this. Cattell and Linney side by side. Who's that pulling out? That's Logan Helton. He's going to get a wicked draft down the the stretch here, and Cattell goes to defend to the low side. Goes to the number 32. Helton now up into P6, back up into P2. But Cattell started on the outside of row number 2 when we got this going, and now Helton with an absolute slipstream and a half with the side draft there. Puts the number 6 out front. Here comes Brad Newman in the Jeff Gordon tribute livery band in 3rd position in the DuPont scheme. He's definitely showcasing that he's not afraid to get that hammer down.
Absolutely, as we watch the driver of Logan Helton getting his way through in the E-Racer machine Buick. As they go side by side for second, here comes Newman to the inside. He will find his way around Cattell for that second spot. A couple of other drivers just waiting for the opportune time to pull the trigger and move up further in the running order as they battle for the 4th and 5th position. Aaron Smith, Blake Neer, all right there in the hunt as they try to keep up with your top 3. And now, slingshot engage as we see the driver, Brad Newman, trying to get around Logan Helton. Did not work to his advantage. That will now drop him back to 3rd, with Cattell moving back to the 2nd.
Yeah, there's been a bit of a couple of dramas. Nolan Hodgson in the number 8 had a mechanical black flag. Blake Tidwell in the 36 also ended up in pit road, so looks like those two might have had a little bit of a coming together. As Helton to the low side, Kettle retakes the lead. Newman trying to look to the high side here. He's going to look to the inside line. Oh, millimetres between the pair as Newman fires it through on the inside line on Kettle for the race lead. And now there's a little bit of a gain by the top two. They've started to engage a little bit of a breakaway, and they've dropped Logan Helton, who's just been passed by Alex Linney for P3.
Absolutely, as he does so, these two are going to try to see if they can work together, get a little separation from their competitors here. They want to make this a two-horse race. They don't want any more competition. They want to make sure they have plenty of room to work with, not get involved in any tangle-ups here as we progress further on in the race. But with the draft being that great advantage and equalizer for everyone, it is all going to be a matter of just how well you can keep it in a straight line through these corners and keep those RPMs and the speeds up to your advantage. This here is the open setup Firecracker 400. There's two different versions. We have the open one that we are currently watching right now, and then the fixed setup, which is iRacing's fixed setup, utilized for these 87 stock cars that are normally utilizing a fixed setup for their 87 stock car season that we have on the official iRacing calendar, as these drivers now continue to settle in for this stint of the race. 2x2, third on back as they try to work their way through off turn 2.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of side-by-side at the moment, especially with Logan Helton having Alex Linney, who's got someone charging up the inside, as here goes Newman again, trying to go for the race lead. Down the back stretch, heading into T3. And he just about nips it through, just about as Brad Newman get in front. Looks like David Brown in the number 9 is now moved up into the 4th spot, and he's, get this, David Brown, biggest mover of the night so far, 26 spots gained. He's up to P4 from 30th at the start 16 laps ago.
Make it 27 now as he moves up into the 3rd position. John Banabu right there, who has moved up 20 spots after starting 23rd. He sits inside the top 5 right now as they try to keep pace with the rest of the field. But right now, David Brown from the driver outside of the top 30. He is now trouble. One driver around as the caution comes out for the first time. One driver looping it around on the back straightaway. It looks like to be Alex Linney and company having some issues. We'll take a look at the replay. It's the number 23 machine of John Banabu, and I hate to say it, commentator's curse kicked into play right there.
Well, it was only going to be a matter of time before we got our first caution of the night, but I think they both got away with it pretty much scot-free. I mean, Babineau just might have just gotten a little bit of a check up from Linney, making door-to-door contact, swapping some paint. We're going to have a look at the replay, and so Linney is going to the low side. Babineau's trying to push a little bit of a touch on the left rear fender, and Babineau goes around. But luckily enough, he managed to stop it from going into the barriers on the Daytona Superstretch and just keeps it out of the wall. So that means that Babineau's going to have a little bit of opportunity to gather himself up, pick himself back up, and just say, you know what, okay, that's happened. We've still got plenty of miles to go left in this race.
Absolutely. Of course, back in as we get set here and watch these drivers to determine who will come down on pit road. A couple of cool key points we can talk about here with regards to this special historical race. Back in 1987, this was the last time that no matter what day of the week it landed on, the 1987 Firecracker 400 raced on the 4th of July. And from the time it originally started back in 1959 to this year in 1987, no matter the day, whether it been on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, if it happened on July 4th, that is the day we ran the Firecracker 400 in the NASCAR series throughout its history before, of course, moving on to the first weekend in July in 1988.
Yeah, when you think about it, the first ever time that the Firecracker 400 came under iRacing's governance, it was NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Championship Series and College Series competitor Dylan Basin that won it last year in the fixed setup side of things. It was also NASCAR Cup Series standout Carson Hocevar that claimed the victory. I mean, you know, when you look at the amount of people that have won top splits in this over its history here on iRacing, as we're seeing a lot of people getting their service in, getting some tires, and someone has definitely made sure their pit stop has been effected very, very quickly to try and get themselves to the front of the field. And look, here's the mad dash out of pit road. And who is going to be the one that's going to be at the sharp end of it is more to the point. Is it going to be Zach Range?
Zach Range, I think, did not pit, as we see a couple of drivers deciding not to come down pit road. But the driver who did win that race goes to Logan Helton in that E-Racer number 6 machine. Sean Butler, Trey James, and Aaron Raymond decided to stay out onto the racetrack right now. And just as I say that here, it's now just going to be Sean Butler and Trey James. Aaron Raymond did come down pit road, so he will be the winner off of pit road in his number 27, followed by Logan Helton, Brad Newman, your top 5 after pit stops have been completed for the first time here tonight.
Yeah, just keeping an eye on how it's positioned after the contact between Alex Linney and John Babineau. Babineau now currently P27, Linney still in 8th. So I think, as we would say, John Babineau caught the short end of the stick on that one, as we're going to see a replay here. That's the 35 having a big old moment, and that is Jacob Klein, and he gets tagged after sliding from the high side of the circuit, and that left front is not looking quite as it should be. So yeah, Jacob Klein currently in pit lane repairing damage at the moment as we speak.
And here comes a couple of more drivers, Sean Butler and Trey James, deciding to come down pit road. Knowing Sean Butler for multiple years now on the iRacing service, he's been a major proprietor when it comes to racing these 1987 stock cars. And knowing him, he's just going to get out there, get a little clean air, head his way back to the back of the pack, just keep it clean, stay out of harm's way as best as he can, but we'll pretty sure see him work his way up through the field before we see the checkered flag fall, as Aaron Raymond will take the race lead now, followed by Helton, Newman, Connolly, and David Brown, your top 5. A couple other key notable drivers. Michael P. Frisch has joined into the top 10, along with Zach Roethlisberger as well, and Justin Malillo moving up into the top 25 as well after starting at tail end Charlie of the field here. So good to see one of iRacing's very own making his run here in the Firecracker 400.
Yeah, another couple of drivers I'm keeping my eyes on at the moment, Taylor. Jaden Hopp in the number 4, who's up 19 positions now, runs in the 9th spot. Brandon Stocks, who started 38th, now runs P13, just behind the number 10 of Blake Neer. So I think we could have some very, very big dark horses in this race tonight.
Absolutely. And of course, with how this situation will go, we're running it like it's the 1980s. So it's going to be single file restarts with the lap cars down on the inside lane. So there is no wave around. So if you are caught a lap down, you're pretty much going to have to fight your way up to the race lead and pass them and then run away from them, as that we will see happen for the number 12 machine down there on the bottom of the racetrack, driven by Gabriel Pellegrino, who is going to try and get one of his laps back to go and contend his way further up the running order. 2 drivers are out of the race. That is Nolan Hodgson and Blake Tidwell, who are done for today after 20 laps of competition. Green flag is back out, and we're once again racing here at the World Center of Racing, and a great jump by Aaron Raymond. Let's see how long he can keep it, as here comes Logan Helton and company following in hot pursuit.
Yeah, Helton's only 0.2 of a second back, then it's over 0.6 back to Brad Newman in the number 7. He's being followed by Conley and Brown in the numbers 15 and 9. Michael P. Frisch on their heels in the number 1. Rondeletto's about 1.4 seconds back, as I have to feel for Gabriel Pellegrino in the number 12 car. He's like saying, oh, I really want to get that lap back, and they're already starting to start playing musical chairs. So Newman and Conley, threaded the eye of the needle between himself and Newman to get through on Brown, and David L. Brown is there in the number 9 car, and there's the second pack, picture in picture at the bottom end of your screens. But again, we are seeing that this mechanical grip plus slipstream is absolutely playing its hands. But look at the run that David Brown has got. He's looking for the race lead. He's got through on Helton.
Beautiful drive down to the bottom of the racetrack. As can he clear him? No, he cannot. You see how much of the aerodynamics are not really coming into play. You see how high the nose is up on that Ford Thunderbird as he tries to find his way around the Buick of Logan Helton. Not going to work for him as he tries to dive down to the bottom of the racetrack, leaving James Connolly all by his lonesome. He's trying to see if he can have a dance partner to help chase down the race lead, but it is not going to work to his advantage as they cross the line and give the second spot to David Brown as he tries to find a way to clear both of them and pick up the 2-for-1 special to go for the race lead.
Yeah, again, it's just a case of just duking it out and seeing who's going to bring the overhand right to the party, but it's too early to make that kind of decision as we ride on board with Brandon Sox down at the bottom picture in your screens, folks, and he is currently now running up 27 spots, looking maybe for make that number 28, because he's right with Aaron Smith the second in the number 5. The very, very bright, I'm going to nickname that car the Yellow Submarine, but look, Brandon Sox now losing out to the 22. Roethlisberger. Again, sometimes playing that low side does not always help you. But then we see the Wrangler car. God, that's a Dale Earnhardt livery back in the day, and that car is making some serious headway at the moment. And that is Blake Neer, I believe, or it might be James. Yeah, Blake Neer in the number 10 car. He's closing in on Connolly for P4.
Absolutely, as we see the driver Blake Neer working his way through. He's up to second, and he's going to be up at the front of the field. New race leader, Blake Neer, representing the colors of the yellow and blue Wrangler machine. Not going to work, though, because a big push from Brown with help from Logan Helton will move him back to the 3rd position, as now here comes another run from Michael P. Frisch, looking to pick up a couple of more points.
Yeah, he might get the jump on Helton coming out onto the backstretch here. Brown has just got the measure as they go down the super stretch. And look at this, Frisch is bump drafting Blake Neer along, nigh on, and this is going to be quite interesting going into turn 3. To the lead again goes Blake Neer, and that all of a sudden means that Michael P. Frisch has got to try and work with that throttle rather than some kind of side draft or slipstream. But look at this, 2x2, Noah's Ark style, for first, for second, for third, for fourth. And here comes Brad Newman. Is he going to try and thread the eye of the needle, split third and fourth? Not quite. He nearly gets pit boxed in, though, however.
He's trying to do his best here, but I think he's also got to realize a little bit of patience can go a long way here. You don't want to make those kind of brave and heroic decisions just quite yet, as we ride on board with David Brown as he looks on to see the yellow and blue machine of Blake Neer trying to close in and, in a way, kind of trying to change history. Back in 1987, Dale Earnhardt Sr. finished 27th in the 1987 Firecracker 400 due to the fact of DNFing due to an accident in the stages of the race. So Neer, with those colors, trying to do a little bit of history changing here with that machine as he comes across the line in 2nd place. But he is in trouble as he deals with the bar visual machine of Michael P. Frisch to the inside.
Yeah, Frisch trying to get as low as he can to the yellow line at the low side of the circuit. And he might get the opportunity. Can he get the side draft on Blake Neer? Down out of turn 2 as they head down the super stretch once again. And a little bit further back, you're seeing Newman, Conley, Jaden Hopp now up into the 7th spot, up 21 positions, make that 22 as he gets through on the number 15. We're going to see Aaron Raymond in the number 27 here. Oh, the back end starting to slide out, and he's going to hit the wall. Manages to avoid any contact with anybody else, including Gabriel Pellegrino in the number 12 Nello yellow car. As now, look at this, it's an absolute free-for-all. Everyone is pushing 11 tenths here as it's Michael P. Frisch, the number 1, who takes the race lead ahead of Brown, Newman and Blake Neer side by side for P3. And then it's Helton, Conley, Hopp, Reed, Sox, Roethlisberger, Rondeletto in 11th. Still not out of the woods yet, not out of it yet is the number 3. But our pole sitter is just biding his time. That's one of the things you've got to do on a race like this where it's 160 laps, 400 miles. You've got to be in the right place, right time when there's a couple of laps to go.
Absolutely. You got to take care of your equipment, knowing that there is a lot on the line here as we watch the former NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series competitor Michael Frisch split the difference 3 wide for the race lead as they come off of turn number 2. Little bit of contact there between your top 2 on the high side, and David Brown having to be careful as he tries to dive to the bottom. Yellow flag is out as we are under caution for the second time here on lap 29.
That has been absolutely crazy how close these drivers have been. Trey James in the number 40, Aaron Raymond in the number 27. They both picked up mechanical black flags, so looks like those drivers are going to have to tow it to pit lane, I'm afraid. And those might be the drivers that could have brought out the caution there.
Could be a possibility. We'll wait to see what our amazing producer will have for us here to take a look at that replay, as here it is. Here is James in that number 40 Bill Elliott machine that he ran in the 1990s, the McDonald colors. And just got a little bit loose right there, making contact with a couple of other drivers. Nearly hard hit right there to the outside wall, collecting 2 other drivers, as we see. And then does another one. If he only didn't make contact with the outside wall, that would have been perfect. But more drivers getting collected up in this incident. Big time error from the 27 machine as well.
Aaron Raymond getting a big airborne underneath the front axle as the 24 was sideways at the same time as well. Oh my god! And like it literally causes a chain reaction. And well done by Justin. iRacing's Justin in the number 26. I can't get his surname right, so Justin, my apologies.
Justin Malillo working his way
Thank you
through
very much.
here as they get himself ready to go back at it once again. And I'm pretty sure it's safe to say we may see a couple of drivers come down and at least change 4 tires, maybe 2 tires. At the very minimum, put fuel in these cars to try to stretch it out a little longer.
But I have to say though, Taylor, Justin Malillo's reactions were cat-like reflexes there, and shout out, hats off to him.
Absolutely, as Trey James not definitely having a Mac night tonight here for him, as his night will be done here in the action for the Firecracker 400. But don't worry, there's still a couple of other chances here to run this event, as we have a couple of other slots left on the fixed side as everyone comes down pit road. And by the looks of it, Brandon Sox is yet to come down pit road. In fact, he will stay out on the racetrack with David Brown winning the race off of pit road, followed by James Connolly, Logan Helton, and then it is Jaden Hopp and Octavio Rondeletto, your top 5 off of pit road. Sox will take over the race lead for the moment, but I have a feeling he will be coming down pit road to at least top off with fuel and get a little further down the running order as more drivers make their way off of pit road.
Yeah, just having a look at the pit stop times here, Taylor. Brad M. Newman in the number 7 car looks like he's taking tyres. Blake Neer, Thomas B. Reed, and Zach Roethlisberger. They've all had pit stops north of 22 seconds, so that says to me more than likely 4 brand new stickered tyres on their cars ready to go to green, and that will give them the mechanical grip advantage. But they have to scrape off that layer of untested rubber just to get down to the main sort of like meat and carcass of the tyre. And then when those things really start to get up to temp, then they'll be absolutely flying and trying to make their charge back towards the front end of the field.
Absolutely, and we'll see how that all plays out for them here as we keep an eye on the drivers. Currently, the temperature at the track here, I gotta say, for racing here at Daytona in July, it's a little cooler than I would expect. 84 degrees. Normally, as being a former Floridian myself, temperatures would be in the triple digits, or at least close to the triple digits. Not 84 degrees, but that track temperature, 116 degrees. That means those tires are going to be slipping and sliding all over the place. The humidity, just about right, 63 degrees. I would add another 30% if this was as close to what we would expect in the real world, with almost 100% humidity down in Central Florida.
Yeah, and we have seen it a couple of times when drivers have just lost the back end and the mechanical grip has just gone from the rear tyres, and that's why we've seen, obviously with that last caution coming out, one mistake, one overcorrection on steering, that can really snap the back axle into a direction that the driver will not want to face, which is normally backwards or sideways. And then you've got to think of, okay, how is that going to hurt me in the long run? That's nearly put me in the wall.
As we ride on board with Aaron Raymond and his onboard, getting a little shot up like a firecracker here, and unfortunately he does come back to earth. So we'll see how this works out for these competitors.
Yeah, I thought he might have been on a steed there, because he definitely would have been getting some giddy up with that air that he just got. But it just goes to show that when someone loses the back end of a car and then they are a passenger, and if you get caught up in it, just like Aaron Raymond did, and it was unfortunate because he was at full throttle and he just came across the scene of the incident. And sometimes when you are dealing with speeds of over 190, 200 miles an hour, you've got to have those reflexes, but sometimes you're kind of in a pinch, really.
So a fun little fact here for some of our drivers. I mean, while we're under caution, we're getting ready to go back green flag racing here. So we'll save that little fun fact if we get confirmation that pace car is going to be pulling off onto pit road, which by the looks of it, that is the case. Drivers now get themselves ready to turn up the engines and go at it once again, as Brandon Sox will lead them to the green flag. But how about this for one of our lap drivers there of the number 12 machine, Gabriel Pellegrio, who is now trying to move up. He does not, unfortunately. Here comes David Brown around the outside as he tries to hunt down Brandon Sox.
Yeah, Pellegrino's been between a bit of a rock and a hard place, unfortunately, for the number 12. Showing on our timing screens is currently P40. So, and then, you've got to think of how much damage has been done to the number 40 of Trey James, then of course Aaron Raymond, but it is now Conley to the lead. As to the bottom, to the low side goes Jaden Hopp. That is 24 places gained, and out of the top 5 at the moment, you look at who is there. James R. Conley up 10 spots. Brandon Sox up 36 from 38th on the grid, runs P2, and Brandon Sox now, that's 37 places, but Conley to the high side is going to try and retake that race lead. Sox to the low side, keeps the hammer down and stays ahead, but Conley's going to get the draft as they go down the backstretch, heading into turn 3, and look at this, again, switching places like nobody's business, and sometimes you want to be the car following, so you can get that little bit of additional MPH on your speedo. And look at this, Conley and Sox nearly swapping paint coming out of turn 4. This is a real scrap and a half for the race lead. Conley just ahead of Sox by about 0.02 of a second across the stripe, as we are now on lap 36 of 160. And Sox to the high side this time will retake the race lead, gets about a couple of car lengths between himself and Conley, make that 3 to 4. And then you've got Brown, Helton, Hopp, Linney up into 6th place now, Zach Range and Blake Neer. And Linney drops behind the 21 of Range. Blake Neer is about 6/10 off of the number 30. Well, make that now. You might think, oh, half a second isn't that far behind. Well, when they get the slipstream engaged, and look at this, Blake Neer using the low side, he's got himself up into P3. He's got Thomas B. Reed right behind him in the City Chevrolet Monte Carlo, right behind him. And now Blake Neer up to P2. This is going to be the case where Blake Neer is going to be side drafting his way through to the race lead, and he's a fraction ahead. Make that now 2 to 3 car lengths ahead of Brandon Sox as Thomas Reed now takes P2. This is a real dogfight.
It really is a good fight up there from the front of the field, as here comes the 22 of Zach Roethlisberger to the inside. Going to take him 3 wide as they head down into turn 3 and 4, and he will try to hug the inside lane. He's got help from that number 19 in the Richard Petty colors as they try to work their way through in that Ford Thunderbird. Slight contact as they make their way through. We ride on board with Zach Range in the 15th position in his Chevrolet as he tries to snake his way through the competition. That's the 37, nearly shuts the door on him, but can't find his way through. William Tyndall will lose a spot as they try to work their way through the middle of the corner.
Yeah, Benjamin Forrester's looking very racy in the STP Richard Petty colours in the number 19. He's up to 9th position now, having started 34th. So I did say there were going to be plenty of dark horses in this race here tonight, Taylor, but there are so many of them. I think they're probably long as both my arms and legs put together.
Absolutely, here as we watch a little further up the field, and the number 22 of Roethlisberger looking to get around Brandon Sox in the Hooters machine. And of course, a little history right there. Hooters was running in the 1987 series with Alan Kowicki. The only difference I gotta say with Sox's machine is originally with Alan Kowicki, it was a Thunderbird, and it was white and orange. So he got it a little bit off a little bit. So we'll see how well he does, though, in that number 31 as he tries to work his way through, dropping back to P4 after Roethlisberger moves up to 3rd as we watch the 15 of Connolly trying to pick up a couple of extra spots. He's all by his lonesome, has a little bit of a sniff of the draft right now to help try to keep him up with the top 5 as he sits in 6th. He does have help coming from the driver of David Brown in 7th place as we watch Sox trying to keep pace with the top 3.
Yeah, so is Brandon Kettle as well in the number 32. He's up now back into 4th position. So he might get an opportunity as we see David L. Brown being chased down by the number 6 of Logan Helton. Benjamin Forrester being passed by Brad M. Newman in the number 7 car. So again, it's that side draft on the low side that really seems to be working. You can see the cutback by Benjamin Forrester in the number 19 STP machine. He's going to try and make a couple of spots. He's gone through on Logan Helton for 10th, but then he's got, I think that's Mitch Hughes, who's also trying to get through on Helton and does so. So Forrester might get a little bit of an assist if Mitch Hughes manages to get closer to his rear bumper, but it's going to be tough for Mitch Hughes if he can just get in front of David L. Brown in the number 9 car. Unfortunately, Brown decides otherwise, is ahead of Mitch Hughes by about half a car length as they go through. Again, Mitch Hughes is favouring that inside line in the number 24 and then gets through on Brown. So can there be an opportunity here for Benjamin Forrester, who started down in 34th position, now runs in the 8th spot, as we see once again Helton, Brown, Linney, they're rounding out the top 12 at the moment. But the biggest gap at the moment is between James R. Connolly and Brad N. Newman. The gap is just over a second, and it's a further 1.3 seconds back to Benjamin Forrester in the number 19 STP car.
So we keep an eye here a little further back with the 24 machine of Mitch Hughes and the Coors Light colors, trying to hunt his way down to the back bumper of Benjamin Forrester. He'll look to the outside, and then moving up, Newman doing everything he can as well. This is kind of that stage of the race where drivers are just trying to find out where their tires are, where the car's handling at this stage. The car's not getting too tight right now. They want to try to keep it off the wall as best they can. Still stay within striking distance of the draft because you don't want to lose it no matter where you are on the circuit, because you'll end up like we're going to see one of our lap cars about to be going a lap down momentarily. So it's all about patience right now as we're closing in on the halfway point of the race here. I'm going to say currently we're about a quarter distance through tonight's action.
Yeah, Blake Neer looks to be trying to use that inside line. He's got Brandon Sox right on his rear bumper as they come through. And again, look at this, Brad Newman using the low side, getting as close to the low yellow line at the bottom part of the circuit, the bottom part of the oval as they go down the super stretch. And now here we go. Neer gets through on Roethlisberger. Sox gets into Blake Neer's slipstream into turn 3. And they're right behind Brandon Kettle, who's going for the lead on Thomas Reed, but Thomas B. Reed in the number 2 Tinny Chevrolet car still holds on to the race lead. This is nip and tuck. And this is what I love about oval racing. There is this specific art to this. And for people that might want to remember a certain Richard Hammond, formerly of Top Gear and the Grand Tour, big NASCAR fan, and I can understand why, because there is an art, there is a subtlety to racing in these machines. 650 horsepower, absolutely thunderous engines, producing a cacophony, an orchestra of noise, of American power, American muscle, as here we go again, Blake Neer to the low side. Again, he's just finding that little bit of extra mechanical grip, and coupled with the side draft, it's really helping the number 10 Wrangler car to move forward and still keep it in contention.
He really is. It's just all a matter of just taking care of his equipment, finding that right lane to go with, and then just pulling the trigger and making the passes work for him. As Brandon Cattell in that number 32, he's looking to try to retake the race lead as he is all over the back bumper of Thomas Reed in that number 2 machine as they come off turn 2, heading down the back straightaway. They're still side by side for the 4th position as Forrester is trying to find his way around. So far to no avail at the moment, as Cattell is just waiting for the opening to find his way back up to the race lead as they are just settling in further back, waiting for the moment. Here comes Brad Newman right around him to the inside. He's got help from Brandon Sox, and how about John Babineau? He was just spinning out of control at one point early on a few laps ago. He's now back into the top 10, ready to contend for a chance of victory here at Daytona.
And meantime, the other person that was involved in the accident that saw Babineau spin out, Alex Linney, is rounding out the top 15 at the moment. So it is that pendulum swing. It can go one way, then it's the other. And look at this, Babineau trying to make it 3 wide. He's looking to the inside of Brad M. Newman and Sean Butler. This could be very close, but he's going to get to the inside of Newman. Can he get through? Yes, he does. Up to P9. But then he drops down to 10th position. And look, 3 wide. And to the high side, that's the number 29 of Sean M. Butler. And look at that, Babineau, just like a scalded rat, just gets through on 2, maybe 3 drivers at a push for that side drop. Brilliant stuff.
There you see Babineau with the Waffle House colors right there. Of course, Waffle House, if he does end up on victory lane, I'm pretty sure if he was down in Daytona, he would be heading down a little bit down International Boulevard to the Waffle House just a little bit before you get to Daytona International Speedway, just off of I-95, and he's going to try and celebrate in style here as he goes side by side with Newman. Meanwhile, here comes Sean Butler moving up through the field. Remember, we talked about him, how he will take his time and find his way up to the front. Well, I think now is the time for him to go up and take the race lead. He's up to 2nd place as he finds his way side by side with Brandon Cattell. He's got help from Blake Neer as they make a hard push to the front of the field.
Yeah, Brandon Cattell's he's going to be pit boxed in a little bit here as Butler gets through. And look at this for the overhead shot, the helicam. This is what you want to see. These cars absolutely roaring like crazy. And still, we've got another, I think, have we got another caution? I'm not too sure. But Reed has still got the lead. Butler in 2nd, Cattell in 3rd. Looks like they're spacing out a little bit here, Taylor.
Yeah, it seems to be spacing out a little bit. The only driver I could possibly see having some issues is the driver of the number 20 of Vincius Bruin, possibly. As we'll wait for our producer to double check a couple things and get you that information. Thomas Reed will have the race lead for the time being as we get set to take a look at the replay. Incredible drive, though, for Sean Butler, as here's the replay of what happened to Vincius Bruin. Going to the inside here, a little bit of a 3-wide escapades here, and possibly some contact. Nope, just hits that yellow line a little bit. Up the racetrack, contact with the lap car of the number 12. And, yep, unfortunately, he doesn't hold the brakes long enough and climbs back up onto the racing circuit.
He was lucky he did not get collected there, but there's the iRacing pace truck picking up race leader Thomas B. Reed in the number 2 City Chevrolet Monte Carlo. But yeah, Sean Butler, what a run he's had so far. Like you said earlier, Taylor, I mean, he's made up. He started 37th, folks. He's now P2, so he's been very, very cautious, and he's been picking his moments as we see the onboard. Yeah, there we see Vinicius Burin in the number 20 just lose it right in front of Gabriel Pellegrino. And I did say about these tyres, when the rears get to and now we're going to see a big amount of running into pit road. So Reed, Cattell, Neer, Roethlisberger, Babineau, Conley, look, they're all pitting right the way down through the top 20. I think the majority, if not most of the field, if not all of the field, are going to come in, get some fuel in that tank and get some tyres on. And it looks like pretty much everyone has come in.
I got to give a little bit of a shake of the finger to Thomas Reed. I mean, I understand why he's running the City Chevrolet paint scheme, of course, Days of Thunder, as we talked about, but he's running it on a Ford Thunderbird. The reason probably why is the body style is closely resembled to what would be a Chevy Lumina back in the 90s when this movie did come out in 1989 when Chevrolet was running the Lumina instead of the Monte Carlo. So applaud for effort, but also like you don't run a Chevy on a Ford. Yes,
that's called that is called travesty in my eyes, to be honest with you, Taylor.
Well, I got one better. I remember commentating a race where a group of people ran a Chevrolet Corvette with a Renault paint scheme on their car.
No.
So it was a all French team too. So I'm like, yeah, we're going to have a talk about that one.
It's sort of like wag of the finger, sit on the naughty step with the dunce's cap on your head.
Yes, think about what you did for a minute. So, but right now, of course, my name is Taylor Burris. Alex Goldschmidt is my commentator up here in the booth as we get set for more action. Closing in on the halfway point of tonight's race. 49 of 160 currently have been completed here. It's currently Blake Neer from Canada up at the front of the field, followed by Thomas Reed in second. Sean Butler, Brandon Cattell, and John Babineau rounding out your top five. Then Roethlisberger, Connolly as Blake Neer's coming down pit road, possibly to top off a little bit, work his way to the back of the field. But Brandon Sox, Benjamin Forrester, your top 10.
Yeah, another break in proceedings, so to speak. But yeah, it's what a race it's been so far, Taylor. I mean, like literally, the strength of field that we've got, the quality, the depth and breadth, like literally two side-by-side racing, 3 wide at points. This is a real good way of the second running under iRacing, the Firecracker 400. I don't know what to say. I mean, there's very rare times when a commentator is speechless when it comes to racecraft, and this is really it's, if I was a baseball, I'd be knocked out of the park left field right about now.
Absolutely. As lights are off on the pace truck here as we get set to go back at it here at the World Center of Racing, as Thomas Reed and Sean Butler will lead us to the green flag.
Yep, and then we'll have Brandon Cattell, John Babineau back up into fourth, head of Zach Roethlisberger, James Conley, Mitch Hughes, Brandon Sox, Benjamin Forrester, Logan Helton. Zach ranged, Alex Linney still within a shout. Octavio Rondoletto has been keeping within the top 15, so that's helping the number 3, even though he did start on the pole. But as we have already seen, as we hit half a century of laps here at Daytona International Speedway, the World Center of Racing, I'm just looking forward to seeing when they get up to full racing speed, when the pace truck peels into pit road, and then it's going to be about the restart. Restarts are, as we all know, very, very crucial, and effectively Thomas B. Reed will be the de facto pace setter when we go back to green.
Absolutely. Here as we see the pace car driver makes the hard left turn out onto pit road. Barney the flagman, ever watchful, ever ready to give us the green flag for Thomas Reed and company as they enter into the start zone and get themselves ready to go back racing here as Reed pulls away. Everyone's got a little bit of separation here. Let's see how quickly they can get themselves organized to make the run up to the front of the field.
Yeah, like I said, it's all about those restarts, and Thomas B. Reed and Sean M. Butler have really nailed it, and they've left Brandon Cattell's kind of eating their dust a little bit, but Cattell's got Babineau right on his rear end, and Roethlisberger not that far back either. But then you look back towards Conley, Hughes, Sox, Forrester, Helton. The gaps are starting to close as Babineau to the inside on Cattell. That is for P3. Is he going to try and thread the eye of the needle? He's going to make it 3 wide for second position. He's looking to the outside of Sean Butler, but cannot quite get the move completed as they go through the tri-oval. He's going to get to the outside. Can he make the move stick? No, Butler's going to get the side draft on him, but Babineau's got that high side working for the 23, the Waffle House machine, and he gets through for second position, but that's given Thomas B. Reed a lead of about 2 tenths. But look at this, Babineau is closing in. He's going to look to the low side now, here into turn 2.
Side by side for the race lead, Babineau gets the run, and he will scream past the driver of Thomas Reed. But look out, here comes Mitch Hughes in the Silver Bullet, looking to try and take on the chance to lead here at the World Center of Racing with Cattell and Connolly in hot pursuit. Speeds in excess of 210 miles per hour as they cross the start-finish line to put another lap on the board. And so far, it's now single file for your top three. Hughes is going to try to push Cattell as he has to worry about the driver of Sean Butler and company working their way through. You're on board with Mitch Hughes as he tries to find his way through the top five.
Yeah, this is a great perspective, and you're seeing, you look on the rev counter, he's at over 7,200, bearing on 7,500 RPM at full speed. As Reed back through on Babineau, Cattell closing in with the slipstream being engaged for the number 32, and look, the top three have broken away. Babineau to the inside of Reed for the race lead again. Babineau's going to get through in the 23 Waffle House entry, and look at Cattell, he's going to get the run here now.
And he does it. Babineau will take over the race lead here in a beautiful fashion with help from Brandon Cattell as these drivers just try to find their footing, make sure they can settle back in for another run. Hopefully we can make a long green flag field run here in this stage of the race. And so far, we watch Cattell looking to try to see if he can help Babineau break away from the rest of the field. This, like we talked about early on in the beginning stages of the race, this is the era where the close, tight-knit pack racing does happen, but also where you could get a car or two and they could break away and end up lapping half the field before it's all said and done as you ride on board with John Babineau, with looking back to Brandon Cattell compared to what we see nowadays, that close, tight-knit racing action where you have a whole group of 40 cars within under a second of each other. Here, you're going to see the field start to spread out a little bit as we progress further in this race. As your top two, they're now stretched out to half a second over Thomas Reed.
Yeah, and here goes Cattell to the low side, but it's not going to work at this point. He's too far behind Babineau to get that side draft. And then we look picture in picture down at the bottom. Again, more pack racing, but the top two starting to break, well, trying to break away, but Thomas B. Reed in that number 2 Ford Thunderbird is closing in on Cattell for P2. And look at this, Cattell to the inside of Babineau for the race lead. This is going to be close, but Babineau gets the side draft he needs, gets through, back for the race lead. And now look at this, Sean Butler in the number 29, trying to get through on the Silver Bullet in the Coors Light livery. The number 24 of Mitch Hughes, but then Butler loses out to Brandon Sox in the number 31, who's back up to the 6th position. As once again, Babineau to the low side on Cattell for the race lead. Cattell gets the side draft on the high side of the track. He's going to try and see if he can pinch his way towards the front end of the field and try and cover off Babineau. Babineau's got an open door here as they go across the line to complete another lap. And now here we go, Noah's Ark style between 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. And look at this, Butler getting the run on Hughes. To the low side goes the number 29. Conley's very close to the wall on the high side, just behind Thomas B. Reed. And look at this, it's a drag race between Cattell and Babineau down the super stretch out of turn 2. Cattell to the race lead as we get this wonderful onboard. And look how close these cars are.
They are just inches apart, and they're going to go 3 wide for the 4th position off turn number 4 just about as they work their way through. Reed will drop down to the middle lane, which opens the door for Connolly to make it 3 wide for the 5th spot as they come down the front straightaway side by side. Little contact for 2nd place there as Reed will move up around Babineau, shuts the door on Babineau for 2nd place, and tries to close the gap between himself and Cattell.
Yeah, there was the slightest bit of paint swapping between the on the right, the left rear fender of Babineau's number 23 Waffle House car. But again, you can see that Sean Butler just keeping himself in contention in the number 29. He's trying to get the run on James R. Connolly in the number 15. But again, Butler trying to find that pace. He goes very, very low to the low side of the to the low side of the oval, but he gets covered off by Brandon Sox, who stops Butler's charge. But again, we're about to complete lap 58 out of 160, and another lap gets chalked up. And look at this. It is so difficult to say how many race change leads we're going to have over 160 laps here at the World Centre of Racing. But look at how high Thomas B. Reed and the number 2 City Chevrolet Ford Thunderbird. That feels weird saying that right about now that you've told me about what car he's running in Taylor. But look at this, Babineau back to the race lead in the 23 Waffle House. Here comes Brandon Sox to the low side, 3 wide for the race lead. Babineau just ahead by a nose, but Brandon Sox, can he try and make that side draft from the low side of the oval? You can see the bumpy, undulating nature of the 31 degrees of banking that these drivers have to contend with as we go 18 degrees through the tri-oval. And Brandon Sox having to battle tooth and nail with Thomas B. Reed for the second spot. But look, that's how close it was. It was paint scratching at its best between Messrs. Reed and Babineau for P2 behind Cattell.
You couldn't stick a sheet of paper in between those 2 cars and how close they were as they trade in paints here. Rubbin is racing at its finest here at the World Center of Racing as they go 3 wide once again for the top 5 positioning, and it will be James Connolly who will be the beneficiary of that position as he continues thinking about going 3 wide again for the 3rd spot as you go on board with him working his way through around the circuit with drivers such as the number 22 of Roethlisberger and Logan Helton waiting in the wings, ready to move on through.
Lenny's making up some small moves, making up a place at a time, and he now rounds out the top 10 behind Mitch Hughes in the Coors Light Silver Bullet number 24. Lenny now through on Hughes for P9. But look at this, Butler to the low side, trying to get the side draft here on Babineau in the 23 Waffle House entry as they come down the super stretch. Brandon Sox switches to the low. Oh, that's Cattell. Cattell switched. He was the one that went from the high to the low side of the oval. He just about manages to get through. But Brandon Sox with the side draft. Look at how much suspension travel there is on the 31 when he hits the high side, goes through the 31 degree banking, now through the 18 degrees at the tri-oval. You could just see how closely packed this is. And looking at the intervals, the top 22 drivers, rounded out by Nathan Barrows and the number 11, are covered by just under 1.8 seconds. And look at this, Noah's Ark style NASCAR racing, nearly 3 wide, a little bit further back towards the bottom part of the top 10. And it's going to be the number 9 of David L. Brown. He goes to the low side. He gets through for P6. And he got through on Sox, Linney, Reed and Hop all at the same time. And still Babineau leads. Butler's broken away from the likes of Cattell and Conley, who's now been overtaken around the outside by Brandon Sox in the number 31 car, who's back up to the 4th spot. And Butler to the low side on Babineau. Can he get the race lead? He's just about wheel to wheel, side by side with the number 23. Babineau's ahead by half a car length. This is absolutely bell-binding right now, and Butler is going to get the race lead down the super stretch. He's going to get the low side, but what about Brandon Sox? He's trying to push Butler along to see if they can get the top 2 positions. And what I can say is this, Butler is through. Back to the race lead is number 29.
But just briefly right there, though, because here comes Babineau around the outside with from Brandon Cattell with a big push as that outside lane is in perfect formation. Babineau, though, drops down to the bottom, which opens the door for Brandon Cattell to get around the outside. Remember a few laps ago where it was just 5, maybe 7 cars in battle, in contention for the race lead? Well, now we're going to just double it, maybe even triple it a little bit, because right now it is pretty much the entire top 15 who is now in contention for a shot of leading here at Daytona as they rocket their way down the Daytona super stretch, increasing their speeds as they settle in. Here comes a big run from Logan Helton and Sean Butler down on the bottom of the racetrack with help from Jaden Hopp and Michael P. Frisch, who are working their way through. Babineau, though, going to go on the defensive. He's going to try and block both lanes. However, this is where it gets a little tricky for the driver of John Babineau. If you do not time it just right, unfortunately, it could cost you the chance to where you could be spinning down to the bottom of the racetrack and into the infield section of the circuit. He's got to be careful and time it just right here as he will go side by side with the race lead with Sean Butler. Cattell looks on in 3rd as they continue to go 2 by 2 further on back as the caution comes out.
That's on lap 65. I mean, the thing is, Taylor, I was looking at the live timing. We're going to have a look at the replay here and what brought out the caution. And it's, oh, don't tell me. Thomas B. Reed gets checked up. Oh, and look, Thomas B. Reed. So that is why Thomas B. Reed gets pinched, but he gets sort of sandwiched, so to speak, ends up going to the low side, goes below the yellow line, and that is why the caution was brought out. So
I don't know about that one. I'm looking at a couple of other drivers maybe to keep an eye on here. Let's look at Caleb Connor, but that was a great save though by Reed. Let's see what happens to the number 18 machine. He washes up the racetrack, hits the outside wall. Does he end up coming to a dead stop? Yeah, he kind of does. Spins it out a little bit. Does he bring it back up onto the track? Yep.
Oh.
And he does right there. Engine lets go.
Oh.
There's more contact. Hence why we are under caution here for the third time here tonight at Daytona.
I'm wondering if that might have been the number 16, Chris Yanker, that might have hit the back of him.
Could be a
possibility. Because Chris Yanker's
possibility.
in pits. Yeah. Oh. Another driver that having traction issues, well, I think probably grip issues with the rear tyres. And we're getting to that stage again when, you know, the drivers have got to think not just about the fuel, you know, the gas mileage they've got to conserve over the race distance, but also the tyres, because they're limited with the amount of sets of tyres that they can actually use over the course of the race distance.
Well, the good news is they have probably only used about 3 sets of tires. There's a couple of other drivers who have come down to top off with fuel for the most part. But looking at it right now, this is our third caution of the night. We've been running 20-lap stints here as we ride on board with Brad Newman. Oh, one of our front runners right here. Just boom, makes contact. And that is a tough break for the Australian, who was looking to have such a good run. Unfortunately, got caught up a little later on in some issues, and unfortunately that might be day done for him as we wait to see who will win the race off pit road. A couple of drivers missing their pit box here a little further back, as Brandon Sox will win the race off of pit road. And we'll see who else will join him on that race off of pit road. There you see the number 31 Chevrolet Jory joining the racetrack. Zach Roethlisberger will go second. Then it's going to be Brandon Cattell and Blake Neer, your top 3 in 4, and then Logan Helton in 5th position. So a good little race off pit road here as we are approaching the halfway point of tonight's race of the iRacing special event of the Firecracker 400 here on RaceSpotTV. As drivers now are settling in here for a moment, get a chance to catch their breath, reset themselves up, stretch a little bit if you can, before you get ready to pull those belts tights one more time and hold on for dear life with these 680 plus horsepower machines that are just testing the limits of every single one of our competitors here tonight.
Yeah, it's a real shame with regards to Brad Newman, the Australian. You know, just completely blindsided, and he was running at full speed at the time. And that kind of impact will always rearrange the front end of any race car. I don't care whether it's an oval or a street circuit or a road course. You know, when you are at that speed, like I said earlier, it's about those reflexes. And sometimes when you get into the scene of the accident a little bit too late, then unfortunately, yeah, like you say, for Blake Newman, I think it's going to be game over. Brad Newman, that is going to be game over. He's going to be in there for a long, long time repairing any kind of damage. I mean, we've had a few more retirements, by the way, Taylor, before I get Rhino Harris in the number 34, Dustin Carries in the number 38, Aaron Raymond, Trey James, Nolan Hodgson, Blake Tidwell. Looks like Chris Yanker's got a lot of damage being repaired at the moment. It's been stationary for over 8 minutes in pit road. And then Caleb O'Connor in the number 18 car, 34th on the timing, has also had dramas and has been stuck on pit road for over 4 minutes. So, well, if you get caught up in an accident and the damage is minor, then you get caught up and broadsided by somebody else, then that can, you know, provide insult to injury, unfortunately.
Absolutely here, but thankfully with how things have been rolling, we've been pretty much quick with getting back to green flag conditions here with these caution periods. So we'll see how this will go back at it with the racing here as they come off a turn number 2. Everyone's already single file. Lights are out on the pace truck. So we should be getting set to go back racing on lap 69 of 160 laps. And looking through the field right now, I got to say it is still anybody's guess who could be coming out on the top step here and celebrating in victory lane. Currently, about 33 drivers are still on the lead lap. How about the driver of Gabriel Pellegrino? He was struggling in the beginning part of the stage. He's been slowly but surely working his way up. He's now inside the top 35 right now, as Brandon Cattell will get set to lead us back to the green flag.
Yeah, and there's more than 200 plus miles left to run in the Firecracker 400, and Taylor, I think, with the strength of field that we've got, I feel that anyone in the top 25 that is still running, maybe even the top 30, still has an opportunity of heading to victory lane here at the World Centre of Racing. It is just so difficult to call who is going to be on that top step.
It really is, as the pace truck makes the hard left turn down on the pit road. Barney the Flagman will have the green flag in the air, as the 32 Oldsmobile of Brandon Cattell will lead the charge there with the Chevrolet of Blake Neer in hot pursuit as they come down the front straightaway, heading off into turn one.
And now the checker game starts once more at high speed in earnest as James Connolly darted to the low side just to cover off the big run that Sean Butler had, but I don't think it's going to do him any favours down the super stretch here, as James Connolly now looking for not just second but maybe for the race lead. He's got through on Blake Neer and then through on Brandon Cattell. So new race leader on lap 69 of 160 is James R. Connolly. Sean M. Butler in the number 29 car rounds out second, ahead of Brandon Cattell in the third spot, with Blake Neer, Logan Helton, John Babineau now through on the number 6, Jaden Hott, Michael P. Frisch, David Brown and Alex Linney rounding out the overall top 10. And here we go, 2 by 2 again. Butler to the low side on Connolly for the race lead. Can he get the job done at this moment? There's still pretty much even Stevens as they go down the super stretch. You look at the run from Babineau in the 23 Waffle House. He has got a big lick of speed underneath that right foot, and he is making good use of it. And look at this, Michael P. Frisch darts in behind, but look at Cattell to the low side, tries to get through on Connolly, will retake the race lead, and the door is open for Babineau and Frisch to possibly make their way through on the number 15, and Babineau just makes it work.
He finds the opening, shuts the door, and gets right in front of Connolly. But the thing is, Babineau and Connolly, they want to split the difference. 3 wide once again for the race lead as they head off into 1. Michael P. Frisch sitting in the catbird seat, ready to pounce whenever someone makes a mistake, as they are now back to 2 by 2 for your top 4. Sean Butler waiting in the wings as well in the 5th spot, as they now go up to the front of the field, single file further on back from Blake Neer leading that second group, as here comes Michael Frisch with a big push to the back bumper of Babineau as he tries to send him forward and lead the charge on the bottom.
That's exactly the tactic that Michael P. Frisch would have wanted to have done, but look at Connolly, he's going to get the opportunity, the pendulum swing back in his favour. But look at this, Frisch and Cattell are running very close, so the top quartet running line astern. Butler not that far behind, he's going to pick up the slipstream very quickly from Cattell, just in front, and look, Butler gets that draft, goes to the low side of Cattell. Can he get through on the number 32? No, Cattell has been really, really solid with moving from the high to the low side, coming out of corner exit, especially coming out of turn 2. And so the number 32 making work, but here goes Connolly for the race lead. Frisch sees the door open as well. He's going to get the draft from Connolly. Connolly is going to try and put Babineau in a bit of a pinch. Here comes Frisch with the run. Can he look to maybe split the difference? Can he go to the low side here? Not quite, because Connolly puts his car right in front of the number 1 car. And again, look, Noah's Ark style, 2 by 2 for battling for the race lead. Look at this, Frisch trying to find that window on the inside of Connolly. Can't quite make it work. Probably feels that the mechanical grip is not there, along with the draft, and he's got Cattell to his outside.
He certainly does, and Sean Butler kind of just now left by his lonesome, as how about Brandon Cattell dropping all the way to the bottom and finds his way to reclaim the race lead. I mean, he is pulling off some incredible moves all race long, and he is going to continue to do so as he kicks that Oldsmobile into overdrive, finds an extra gear, grabs it, and goes off into the distance.
Yeah, but as soon as he gets that advantage, everyone else comes fighting back at him, as here comes Babineau once again to the low side. Babineau now retakes the race lead as we keep an eye on Thomas B. Reed in the number 2 car. Currently now, well, he's down into 16th position. And he's battling away with William Tyndall in the number 37 car. And then you've also got Brandon Sox, Octavio Rondoletto, Aaron Smith II, rounding out the overall top 20. So again, that chess game is happening up and down the field. There are battles everywhere you look here at Daytona for the Firecracker 400. What a race, what an absolute spectacular, you know, cavalcade of cars that we've got, and they're still at it. Frisch to the low side of Babineau for the race lead. Can Conley make it through the open door that the number 1 is providing? He's going to try and give it a shot. Look at this, Cattell again. Cattell, I think, fears that Butler is his biggest competitor out of the other 3 that are just in front of them. You know, this is the ultimate chess game at high speed, over 210 miles an hour. These guys are playing a big game of chicken right about now.
Absolutely, but you know what? They are just being so precise with how they want to place their cars and get themselves ready to go. To the inside, John Babineau will try and reclaim the race lead. He will lead that lap, so add another lap onto his counter here as he comes down to the inside. You're right on board now with Sean Butler in that number 32 Ford Thunderbird, looking to try to pick up a couple of extra spots and lead his field up to the front of the field. And so far, he is side by side with Brandon Cattell, who is able to power move around the outside with help from the draft. And now he'll slide back to the outside lane, leaving Babineau all by his lonesome, tuck back in the line and see if he could just get a little bit more of a trap, get that slingshot to find his way around.
Yeah, it seems like Sean Butler's got that Ford Thunderbird absolutely cornering on rails. It's on the verge of being very, very loose on the back end, but he is making it work. And this is where precision driving at high speed is at its finest. About to go down the super stretch once again. And look at this, Babineau trying to make it 3 wide for the race lead. Down the super stretch they go. What can Butler make of this? What can Cattell make of this? And this time Cattell cannot do the cut across the front nose of Sean Butler. As all contact between Frisch and Babineau as they battle for the race lead. And Butler dives to the inside of Conley. And look at this, Butler's going to get the run. Cattell still there or thereabouts. So look at this, could we nearly be 4 wide across the stripe? We nearly were. And look at this, Frisch and Butler. And now Butler's getting an assist from Cattell. Cattell to the inside line, off of the yellow line at the bottom part of the oval. And look at this, Cattell trying to make that window work. Can he get through on Butler for the race lead? No, Conley back in front. And here goes, of all people, John Babineau to the low side of the 23 Roffle House entry. He's going to try and make it work. Is it going to be 3 wide for the race lead? Babineau to the front, just about, or nigh on. He was nearly nose to nose with Conley. Butler's trying to make, well, Butler's making it 3 wide. Frisch to the high side. This is, this is what you want at the front end of the field. Babineau to the low side of Butler. They are nearly trading paint. Frisch to the outside line. Cattell just biding his time. And look at this. Hughes, Lovendick. Then we've also got Helton, Jaden Hopp, Brandon Sox rounding out the overall top 10. David L. Brown and Alex Linney still rounding out the top 12. Octavio Rondoletto is in a bit of a hurt locker at the moment. He's all the way down in 21st.
Yeah, he is really struggling right now, and he has just got to find a way. Hopefully he'll make his way up to the front of the field before this is all said and done. But meanwhile, we are seeing one heck of a fight up at the front of the field with your race leader. A couple of new faces coming up through the field. Ted Lowendick is now in the 6th position in that number 28. The big push coming from John Babineau to the back bumper of Michael P. Frisch to try and see if they can get up to the race lead here as we watch Mitch Hughes also closing in. Jaden Hopp, David Brown also in the mix as here comes Sock all the way down to the bottom.
Yeah, this is far from over. We're halfway through lap 80 out of 160. Half distance here at the Firecracker 400. What a This is a true, well, in the words of good old JR Jim Ross, this is a true slobber knocker right about now as Butler to the low side gets through on Connolly. So the number 29 Ford Thunderbird retakes the race lead. Still too tough to call, but these drivers are putting on one hell of a showcase here on this particular part of the year.
Absolutely, and it's hard to believe we still have more great racing action still to come throughout the 2026 iRacing special events, from endurance racing to stock car racing, dirt racing, off-road racing, you name it. It is all part of the iRacing 2026 special event calendar here in the month of July. We still have 3 other major shows to come, pretty much all throughout the rest of the year. So make sure to keep an eye on your calendar to see if you have what it takes to battle it out in some of the biggest sporting events in all of iRacing. As they, once again, will go nose to tail for the race lead, side by side, with Sean Butler on the top side, Michael Frisch on the inside, Babineau and Connolly right there in hot pursuit in row number 2. As we watch on with Brandon Cattell, Sox, and Lowendick right there in the 6th position.
I think out of the drivers in the top 5, you can really see that Cattell's playing the strategy game. He's looking at the longer game, not the here and the now. You've got to look a little bit in advance and sort of play your strategy to the best of your ability. And now we're going to see 3 wide for the race lead. Babineau to the inside live, and look at the speed. He just pulls past Butler and Michael P. Frisch as if they were standing still.
Certainly like they were, as we watch them trading paint, going left and right to the left to just find their opening and pull the trigger and get around for the race lead here as they go side by side. Here they come down to the bottom of the racetrack will be Michael P. Frisch. Tomorrow we'll be seeing fireworks all across America, but right now here in the virtual world, the fireworks are lighting up the field here as they head down the Daytona Superstretch.
Still Babineau holding on to that race lead, but for how much longer? It won't be about how many laps, it'll be how many corners before somebody else decides to dive to the low side, and that person is going to be Michael P. Frisch in the number 1, but Babineau just gently steers left hand down a little bit to cover off the number 1 car, and Sean Butler in the 29 Thunderbird is there again. He's like a little Yorkshire Terrier, just nipping at everybody else's heels at the minute, but look at Cattell placing the car to the high side, getting the double toe from Babineau and Frisch, making them pull him around the track. And he's actually got the 31 of Brandon Sox right with him, who now rounds out the top 6, who are literally not that far apart. You're talking probably 3 and a bit tenths of a second, as we've got a wonderful bit of an onboard there from the rear bumper cam of Babineau, and you can see the amount of bugs that have been splattered across the front of Michael P. Frisch's number 1 car. But look at this, Butler to the low side again. Can he make it work? At the moment, he's just a nose ahead of Michael P. Frisch. And then we look at James Conley coming back into this as well in the number 15. Brandon Sox is thinking, I might just want to just stay here and hold station, because you never know what might happen out in front. But still, it's going to be Lowendick closing in the 28, Mitch Hughes in the 24, Brad Newman in the number 7, and Logan Helton in the number 6. They are all starting to close on in as it's 2 by 2 for 2nd and for 4th position. Frisch versus Butler, Cattell versus Connolly. Connolly now starting to push Butler along. Butler to the low side on Babineau. Can this be a retake of the race lead for the number 29? It's nip and tuck between the pair, as they will come across the stripe to complete lap 85 out of 160. Babineau back in the race lead, Frisch ahead of Butler. Oh, I'm just absolutely shell-shocked at the moment, Taylor. The quality, the depth and breadth of this field that we have, and look at the run that Brad Newman's got on. He's just got through on Lowendick for 7th spot, and Lowendick does the crisscross on him, looks to the low side as they go down the super stretch out of turn 2.
Remember, Brad Newman was involved in our previous caution not that long ago. He got collected up, unfortunately got caught up in some action, as we have a replay to look at with William Tyndall. And does he have some issues there in that number 37? Yep, makes some contact and almost causes a big incident right there, but both of them able to save their machines and continue on. great heads-up driving, great car control to continue racing and keeping this race under green flag conditions.
Yeah, looked like that was the number 13 of Todd Going, who's currently running in the 21st position, up 11 spots from when we went green. So, yeah, I mean, William Tyndall having a very, very lucky escape, but look how close the top 5 are within, well, they're within striking distance of each other. 0.17 of a second separates our top 5 at the minute, as Butler to the low side gets through with the side draft assist from Frisch. Now is looking for that side drop from Babineau. Butler trying to get through back for the race lead. Babineau's going to fight it all the way across the stripe. So we go into the tri-oval. There we go again. Once more, another lap completed. And it is nip and tuck. Top 3 covered by 0.07 of a second. Make that a 10th covering the top 4.
So close action racing here happening all around the circuit as we watch these drivers continue to battle it out for the race lead here. And, you know, we're now crossing into some uncharted territory. We usually try and keep our tire stints and what we've been having just around 20, maybe a little under 20 laps racing distance for these competitors. Now we're going to start going into a little bit of uncharted territories. How well are these drivers going to be able to keep these tires underneath them, and how much wear and tear are that's going to happen to these drivers? That handling is going to start going further and further out the window. This is not like what we see with the modern stock cars, where you don't have to worry about changing tires. You know, normally you see in the NASCAR Cup Series, drivers may be changing right side tires, only 2 tires here. Here in these 87 stock cars, you are changing 4 tires and fuel every pit stop you get, compared to what we see in the newer generation, where, you know, 2 tires or no tires can be the best call.
Yeah, with the aerodynamics being very much next to nothing on these 87 Cup cars, that mechanical grip is what is going to dictate how the tyres will degrade over a stint. And to be honest, these drivers, now they're on to their 23rd lap of these tyres. So it will be the case that one driver is going to be the first one to pull the trigger and go, you know what, let me get a brand new set of stickered tyres so I can go out there and push like crazy, because now it's getting into, I wouldn't say a bit of a stalemate here, Taylor. It's still that chess game. It's like, how do you make it work? And if someone has set up their car, being an open setup race itself is to, you know, sometimes you need that little bit more extra longevity of when you can keep the tyres in that optimum operational window. As Butler now to the race lead, he's being pushed along by Cattell, who's having to go to the high side here. He got a little bit of a wiggle, did Cattell, in the number 32. The back end stepped out to the right. So Cattell lost a bit of momentum, and that's allowed Babineau to go back up into P3 and across the stripe as we hit 90 laps out of 160, 70 to go. And Babineau is now going to start pushing along Sean M. Butler. And look at this, Brandon Sox in the number 32 looking to the low side. And here comes Cattell again to the high side of Babineau. Sox looking to the inside line. And it's 2 wide for first, third and fifth. And there is still no real answer. But look at this, Babineau's getting that run again to the low side here.
Look at that run right there in the block by Michael Frisch. Chops the nose off of John Babineau right there, and he nearly just sent Babineau down to the bottom of the racetrack, even further past that yellow line. So these cars here are just on a knife's edge. I've been watching Brandon Cattell a couple of times, and just seeing the back end step out like you mentioned. It's happened a couple of more times just now, and he is really just sawing on the wheel to hold on for dear life with this number 32 Buick, and he is putting on one heck of a drive to keep up there inside the top 5.
Yeah, James Connolly in the number 15 Thunderbird nearly clashed with the wall, but look at this, Cattell to the low side again. The ultimate opportunist, and Cattell a nose ahead of Frisch. Oh, the 32 is putting on one hell of a show, but Frisch has got that drive out of the corner. They're going to cross the stripe again, and here comes Butler in the 29 Thunderbird to the inside. 3 wide for the race lead. Butler just about getting through. And look at this, Babineau's going to make 4 wide for the lead.
4 wide briefly for the lead. It's contact. Butler goes around. He is going to get turned and collects Brandon Cattell. Connolly, as a wreck happens up at the front of the field.
Oh,
and
it's
the big one commences here at Daytona.
Oh. Oh my days. And fourth caution of the night is out.
And with this one, it has collected some heavy hitters here who are expected to battle it out for the race win. And unfortunately for drivers like Sean Butler, it might be day done for him, as we'll get a look at the replay of what started this accident here. And it started right about there when they went full wide. Cattell felt it. Unfortunately, the contact with Babineau, Frisch, and Butler causing a multi-car pileup in the middle of turn 1 and 2. Multiple other drivers collected. How about Aaron Smith with a great job of avoiding the incident, and many more?
And Brad Newman, in the second incident that he's been involved in, the number 7 from Australia, has been... Hang on, what's this? Car number 9 trying to do a J... is he trying to do a J-turn here?
Possibly, as he tries
to... David Brown, was he stuck in reverse gear or something like that? You know, but... Well, I mean, the thing was, it was Babineau that decided to force the issue going 4 wide to the inside line. And you could just about cover the top 4 with a piece of paper, but it was just when Babineau threw it up the inside. I'm wondering if we can get a slow-mo replay on what happened with Butler, because he was sideways. So I didn't really see any contact between them, but I did see more than likely that the Thunderbird of Butler in the 29, the back end stepped out to the right, and then he was at a 45-degree angle, and then just all pandemonium and hell broke loose.
Absolutely, as everyone will come down onto pit road. And for some of these drivers, well, you know what? They got one more attempt to do a open setup race, not till, though, 11 a.m. on Sunday. But if they want to try their hand at the fixed race, they can start at either 6 a.m. or 1 p.m. tomorrow during the 4th of July festivities. As pit stops are still underway for our competitors here. Logan Helton trying to finish up with his spot as he gets into his box. Octavio Rondaletto also just entered into his pit box, as well, as drivers are trying everything to just eke out that couple of extra seconds to win the race off of pit road. Couple of drivers now pulling away and making the run to the pit exit sign. And as they do so, who will win the race off of pit road as we take another look at the replay? I can't really see anything off of that angle right there, unfortunately. Just caught the tail end of the contact of where Sean Butler just loses it, makes the contact with the 23, and unfortunately just blocks Brandon Cattell and company in this incident.
I mean, one of the things, you might have the best amount of mechanical grip on the car, but if you get caught in a side draft pinch, which is what I think might have just happened with the 29 of Sean Butler, then, you know, that's going to cause a little bit of rear end instability on the car. So that was probably why the tail end snaked out the way it did, and then Brandon Cattell had nowhere to go, and he got caught up. It's, you know, I think maybe probably a good friend, Mr. Netcode, might have made an appearance, possibly, but it was so nip and tuck with Babineau just going to the low side, making it 4 wide for the race lead. Then we're 3 abreast for the race lead, and then, as they say, domino rally happens, and it's the big one.
Surprising to see that no cars went airborne during that whole event. Great work right there, and of course we'll see how this all plays out. As here's a better look at it. Right here you see the 4 wide action. Babineau, Cattell already knows what's going on. He backs up right there. Frisch, it's kind of a mix of both Frisch along with Babineau just making different contact points on that 29 machine of Sean Butler, unfortunately ending his night for the looks of it. Same thing with Cattell as they continue to work on pit road, as here is currently your top 5 running order. It is Babineau with Helton, Ted Lowendick with Jaden Hupp, and Brandon Sucks, your top 5.
And the only person that has not had a change of position is number 6, Logan Helton, who started on the outside of the front row when we went green nearly 100 laps ago out of the 160. And then you look at the remainder of the top 6. John Babineau up 23 spots, Ted Lowendick up 13, Jaden Hopp up 24, Brandon Sox up 33, Benjamin Forrester in the number 19, the STP colours of the King, Richard Petty, now also up 28 spots. Whew, and we've still got over 60 laps of racing to go, folks, until the checkered.
Absolutely. So we still got quite a bit of racing left to go, but it's still anyone's guess of who will be winning tonight's action here at the World Center of Racing. And as they do so, lights are out. We got no drivers going to go and contest their way up to the front of the field as we're on board with Pace Truck. As Babineau, Helton, and Lowendick will lead us to the green flag. It is a Chevrolet Monte Carlo followed by an Oldsmobile. And then, of course, we have ourselves a Ford Thunderbird in the mix. We do got a couple of Pontiacs out there. That's the fourth of the quartet of 1987 stock cars racing with us here in the Firecracker 400 as the pace car will make the hard left turn down onto pit road. And we get set to go back at it here, racing at Daytona.
Yeah, and Babineau's got to time this restart perfectly to get the jump on everybody else, but that is not going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination as Pace Truck into pit road as we get set and ready for the next restart. Green flag is in the air. We're back under green flag conditions at the World Center of Racing here for the Firecracker 400 as Babineau leads from Helton and they started to pull away. Jaden Holt looking to the inside of Ted Lowendick with Brandon Sox closely following the number 4 car. They go down to the low side. Lowendick is being left out high and dry as Forster looks to the inside as well.
Watching on through the field as we go back at it once again. 3-wide racing action as here comes Brandon Cox to the inside of Babineau. Jaden Hopp and Logan Helton will look their way around to lead the field with help from Benjamin Forrester as Babineau slides his way into a spot that shouldn't really work, but he makes it fit and works his way back into the third position as here comes more new faces up to the front of the field. How about Octavio Rondeletto moving back into the top 10?
Yeah, running in the number 3 car. He's passed Aaron Smith the second in the number 5, so Rondeletto having a bit of a resurgence. At one point he was running all the way down at the bottom part of the top 20, and the man from Argentina up to what is now going to be P5. He's got through on Forster, he's going to get through on Babineau here down the super stretch. Rondeletto has got a big tear of speed right about now as he's getting into the slipstream of Jaden Hopp. And look at this, Brandon Sox being left to the high side. Here comes Rondeletto to the low side. He's going to look for P3. Can that side drop work for the Argentinian? He's going to try and thread the eye of the needle. Rondeletto up to P3. Now comes after Jaden Hopp. And look at the speed he's got. He's going to go and get as many cars as he possibly can. Now, this is the man that put it on pole. And we are coming up to 100 laps of 160. And here we go. Rondeletto to the inside of Logan Helton. Rondeletto back to the front. From 99 laps ago, he was on the pole. He was down to P6 by the end of lap 1, and he now leads as again it's going to be 3 wide for P2. Here comes Brandon Sox as here goes Rondeletto to cover off the 31, stops him in his tracks.
Big block right there by Rondeletto to get in front of Sox here as here comes Alex Linney, one of your former front runners up at the front of the field here, trying to get his way back up here as Sox tries to squeeze his way into an opening on the bottom to get around Rondeletto for the race lead. He will have help from the 30 of Linney, and now we'll take control here with just a lap away as we hit 100 of the 160.
Good to see Rondeletto make use of these pit stops to his advantage. He's keeping it to the high side, and that's going to mean that Blake Neer's going to now come back into the top 3 battle for the race lead. As it's single file between the top quintet, and there's a little bit of a wiggle there from Blake Neer. Rondeletto to his inside, gets through on the number 10 Wrangler car, and will retake 3rd position. He's going to go to the low side, is Rondeletto, but I don't think he's not close enough to Alex Linney in the number 30 to possibly get that side drop. He's going to pick up the toe from the 2 in front to maybe get the drive out of the corner as we're going to head across the stripe. 60 laps to go here at Daytona. Rondeletto looks to get through on Alex Linney. To his outside comes Blake Neer in the number 10 Wrangler car. And look at this, Babineau, Lowendick, Connolly, Helton, Tyndall going, Hopp and Forrester. Look at this, they're all starting to bunch up now. And that is going to be at least the top 15 in the... well, no, I'd probably say more like the top 20 that are in this... look at this, Josh Cruz in the number... Justin Melillo from iRacing was just into 20th spot in the 26 car. Look at the gaps, it's 1.5 seconds between the top 20 alone as Rondeletto back through for the race lead on the number 31 Hooters car of Brandon Sox and Lowendyke looking for the opportunity in the number 28 car.
He's doing everything he can there with Ted as he tries to find his way through that Solopec machine we see running regularly in the Majors Championship, which usually also runs special events like these we see here. And he's doing on a stellar run as he tries to get that third position away from the driver of Alex Linney as the caution comes out once again for the 5th time of the night here as we are now under 60 laps to go.
Oh. Well, again, Hayden Swank has just picked up a mechanical black flag in the number 14 car, running 18th. Vinicius Burin in the number 20 car has also picked up a mechanical black flag. So it looks like we've had more than a couple of incidents with a couple of drivers that are going to find themselves down into pit road. And still, the number 12 Mellow Yellow entry of Gabriel Pellegrino still running in 33rd spot at the minute. So Swank and Burin will have to come into pit road, repair that damage. Brad Newman is 24 seconds off of the race leader as we're under caution for the 5th time tonight. Who's not to say? I've seen stranger things happen. I've seen drivers, I mean, in other forms of motorsport where they've come from the back end of the field and they've come and won it when no one has expected it at the very least.
Absolutely, here as we will take a look and seeing what happened to some of our competitors during this stage of the race as Pace Truck has caught the field with Rondeletto, and here is Vincent Rossetti as he is trying to work his way up through the field. A little bit of an accordion effect happened and some contact, and around he will go, collecting a couple of other drivers, including Brandon Cattell and a couple of other drivers. Tough break there for some of our competitors here. That will put an end to Brandon Cattell's night here at Daytona, along with Josh Cruz in the 25.
Oh, well, the hits, they keep on coming at the moment. There's now another, well, Brandon Sox has just jumped into pit lane, so has Lowendick, Linney, Helton. Babineau has stayed out along with Rondeletto. And bearing in mind, they'll be just topping up those fuel tanks at the moment. So Rondeletto and Babineau, last time they were in pit lane was 9 laps ago, as we've got 57 laps remaining of the Firecracker 400. Big thank you to everyone that's been watching along. Thank you so much for joining us. But a big amount of activity. Mitch Hughes has also stayed out in the 24. The Silver Bullet still fighting in the Coors Light livery.
Certainly is putting on a great show here, and we'll see how this all plays out amongst our competitors as top 10 decided to stay out on the racetrack. Everyone else deciding to come down on pit road to top off with fuel and see what they can try and do, what adjustments they can make in order to try and at least get to the end of this race. I expect at least one more pit stop for our competitors.
Yeah, I could pretty much side with you on that one, to be honest, Taylor. It's just now the opportunity for the likes of Rondeletto, Babineau, Hughes, Linney, who started on the inside of row number 2 when we went green 104 laps ago. One of the big things that I'm noticing here is we've had some fluctuations in the track temp. We're now at 121 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 49 degrees Celsius. So the tyres are going to get that little bit more of exaggerated wear as they go through the heating cycle. So if some drivers have decided, well, you know what, I'm going to stick a fresh set of tyres on that car, as long as they can keep them within that operating window, then they're fine. But if they start falling off a cliff, like we've seen a couple of drivers, and it hasn't happened just once, it's happened more than a few times, they've got they're on that fine limit between adhesion and the back end stepping around and causing a drama.
Yeah, to agree with you on that matter there, Alex, as we'll watch and learn and see how this will all play out for our competitors here in this stage of the race. I gotta say, Babineau, Rondeletto are going to be putting on one heck of a show and a fight to the finish here for our drivers as the lights are off. And it's time to go back racing here with under 60 laps to go.
Yeah, so Rondeletto has the first opportunity to be at the lead of the field on a green flag restart here at the World Centre of Racing. So we will cross the line with 55 laps to go as we'll start lap 106 of 160. And I think it's a case that Babineau and Hughes and Linney, Lowendick, Helton, they've got to go with Rondoletto. It is about how you time these restarts, and I say this every single time. If you can get that hammer down quicker than everybody else and have those cat-like reflexes to go for it, it can be an assist. But as we've seen on restarts, the leader gets an initial advantage of maybe about 3 to 3.5, maybe 0.4 of a second at a push on the restart, but then everyone else starts clawing back that time because the slipstream is so powerful.
Everyone's single filed as we take a look from the aerial views of the World Center of Racing here at Daytona. Of course, these drivers here getting set to go racing once again as we take a look from high above. The infield packed with campers setting to watch the action here like it was back in 1987. There's a lot of difference that's changed from then to now, and we're going to see how it all plays out when NASCAR does return to Daytona later on this year in August to see how it all plays out under the lights here as the pace car will make the hard left turn down onto pit road. Octavio Rondoletto will lead us to the green flag. Babineau and Mitch Hughes, and a great jump from Rondoletto. We'll see how quickly he can try and play keep away for the moment before everyone regathers themselves up and get set for a big push to the finish here as they work their way into one.
Yeah, it looks like that restart for Rondoletto's worked for him. He's got a lead of about 0.4 of a second, but Babineau's going to start clawing that back as they go down the super stretch, as we've got 55 laps to go. We're on lap 106 of 160, and look, that super stretch down into from turn 2 to turn 3 is where you can really claw back some time, and Babineau already, as we go into the midpoint here at turns 3 and 4, he's going to the high side of the Argentinian. Rondoletto is going to just keep it where he needs to. Babineau back for the race lead. There's 54 to go, and Rondoletto staying on his rear bumper. But look, Linney, Hughes, Helton, Smith the second, Near, Range, Forrester and Lowendick ran out the top 10, and Linney now through on Rondoletto. Rondoletto on that high side is a little bit of a sitting duck at the moment, but with 54 to go, as Vincent Rossetti in the number 39 dives into pit lane. And look who's coming into this. Forrester is making it 3 wide at the back part of the top 10. He's got through on Range and Lowendick, as here goes Linney for the race lead on Babineau. So the number 30 back to the race lead here with 54, make that nearly 53 to go. But look at the side draft out of the corner. Babineau's got the race lead back in his pocket again. But for how much longer as they go through across the stripe? 53 to go. Babineau leads from Linney, Hughes, Rondoletto and Helton running at the top 5.
Your top 10 is lined up 2 by 2, Noah's Ark style, as they work their way through the middle of the corner here. As the calm before the storm, Logan Helton trying to find his way through. Blake Neer also in that third lane with help from the 19 of Benjamin Forrester. How about Aaron Smith the second? Remember him? He was outside the top 20 for most of the race. He has now found his way back into the top 10 as here comes Brandon Sox making it 3 wide for a top 5 run.
Yeah, we're getting so close to having more 3 wide exchanges as it's Babineau a nose ahead of Linney. Here comes Brandon Sox in the 31 machine. This is getting so close. Sox was looking for a move on the inside of Linney at that particular point, but he can't get the job done. He's got Babineau to his outside, but here's the door opening for Brandon Sox in the number 31 Hooters machine. He's going to get a nose ahead coming down out of turn number 2 as they go down the super stretch once again. And here comes Forrester. Forrester in the STP machine nearly looked to the low side, and the door was quickly closed by Brandon Sox, who's got that side draft now off of Linney. Sox back to the race lead. Babineau's looking to the low side again, trying to cover off Forrester. Blake Neer is to the outside of the number 10 Wrangler car. This is pendulum swing racing as you find it, because these drivers with 52 laps to go of the 160 here at the Firecracker 400 are putting on one hell of a show.
Brandon Sox around to the outside as he will try and lead the field once again, heading off into the corner, barely scraping by around the outside of Babineau as they come off turn number 2. Here comes Forrester, though, with a big run down on the bottom with help from the driver of James Connolly. The 2 Ford Thunderbirds thundering their way through as Babineau dives to the bottom.
And Brandon Sox, well, where did he pick up that side draft from? Because he just got round the outside of Babineau. Forrester is there. Conley to the inside of Forrester now, down to the low side as they cross the stripe. We're nearly at that, well, 50 to go now. That is going to be a very competitive 75 miles of racing left to go. And look at this, Conley makes it 3 wide for the race lead, gets through underneath Babineau, and Babineau nearly has contact with Brandon Sox, who's still to the outside line. And look at this, well, Conley has now got so many drivers closing in on him, including the number 20. The number 30 of Alex Linney, who's now shuffled all the way down to 9th spot. Make that 10th because Logan Helton's got to the outside of him. This is absolutely mad what we're seeing right here, right now, but it is just showing how precise these drivers are having to be. Nearly a little bit of a scuffle between Neer and Connolly in the battle for P5, as here goes Babineau to the low side once again. He's got through on Forrester. Forrester has a little bit of a wobble on the back axle of the number 19 Ford Thunderbird STP car. Brandon Sox has got a lead of about 1/10.5 of a second as we go down out of turn 2, down the super stretch once again. This is what you want to see. 49 to go, make that 48 after this lap. Babineau through for the race lead once again, but look at Brandon Sox, that high side, he gets the side draft assist from Babineau. Babineau powerless until they get out of turn number 2. And turn number 3 or 4, sorry, through the triover once again. Brandon Sox to the race lead, Conley to the outside of Babineau. Blake Neer is there. Neer is going to go down to the low side. Can he make it 3 wide for the second position? He's going to give it a try here in the number 10 Wrangler entry. And it's sort of a... And look at this, Conley down in front of Babineau, and Neer covers them off and stays in the slipstream of Brandon Sox as we're out of turn 2, down the super stretch. Conley trying to go for the race lead, wheel to wheel with Brandon Sox, and to the inside at turn 3, Conley retakes the lead.
Beautiful drive right there by Connolly to take it over as we watch the 22 machine of Zach Roethlisberger also trying to work his way through. Babineau battling it out with Logan Helton for position as here comes Cox to the inside, and he will take over the race lead as they cross the line.
Yeah, my apologies. 50 laps is 125 miles. It's a bit early where I am at the moment. It's 5 in the morning here in the UK. but I'm not making that as an excuse. It's just a fact of life.
I hear you, as we are now cresting over to the 12 a.m. mark as trouble right out on the back straightaway. Multiple cars get collected. Do we get a caution? Yes, we do, as the 19 and many more get collected. Logan Helton also spun around on the back straightaway, and that is going to bring out our 5th caution of the night. Zane Bailey also in this incident as he will cut through the infield to try and catch up to the field, as here we go back up to the front where Conley and Sox will get back behind the pace truck.
And Blake Neer will round out the top 3 ahead of Babineau. Helton, Tyndall. It just goes to show that there are some drivers that are making it work when it needs to be the most. And yeah, Octavio Rondoletto at one point on the previous caution was leading. He's now down to 15th. That is how quickly the pendulum can swing. But now with the field, with the field now condensing again, it's going to just concertina everyone together and give everyone a chance to hit the reset button, a chance to breathe, calm down, wait, and then once that adrenaline kicks in, when the pace truck lights go out, then it's a case of, okay, hammer down, top gear, off you go, see what happens.
Tough break there for Zach Range with that contact to the outside wall, just getting a little too tight, and unfortunately collecting a couple of other drivers involved. That will end the night for a few more of these competitors as they try to continue on through. Let's see who decides to come down pit road to top off the field, change tires.
Oh, and the other car that was involved in that was Alex Linney in the number 30, the front end losing its front fascia completely after contact.
Here we go, another look at Zach Rainchip, just scraping the outside wall. Unfortunately, hits car with the contact of the number 9 machine. How about the 24 of Mitch just skating on by Mitch Hughes, and then Lenny, unfortunately, getting caught up, had nowhere to go. Aaron Smith and company snaking their way through, including the 13 machine as well. But the Filter Time Chevrolet definitely not having a good time at the moment.
Now the mad dash out of pit road as well happens. There's a few more drivers with machines a little bit battered and bruised. Still taking service, taking on fuel, taking on tyres. And I think, yeah, this could be the penultimate pit stop phase, depending on how many, if we do get any more cautions tonight here, Taylor. But Benjamin Forrester is the one that leads the way coming out of pit road, and he's up from 34th position now in the STP. Number 19 leads us back on the run out of pit road, the race out of pit road, so to speak, with Conley, Babineau in P3, William Tyndall in 4th, out of the number 31 of Brandon Sox, with Jaden Hott, Blake Neer, Zach Roethlisberger back up into the top 10 for the first time in a little bit of a while, ahead of Mitch Hughes and Aaron Smith II in the number 5, rounding out your top 10.
Of course, for these drivers here, it's all a matter of just a few more times left to go for these competitors. At least 2 more stops can guarantee them that they can have fresh tires before we see how this all plays out. But Forrester will come around. Let's see if he comes down pit road to top off or anything like that, as we should get the 1 to go this time by.
Yeah, it's going to be that case of, with 45 laps to go, and the track temp is going up again. Still 123 degrees Fahrenheit, air temp 82 Fahrenheit at the moment. Still mostly cloudy up above, as we see a few more cars make their way out of pit lane, including the Filter Time Chevrolet that we just saw involved in that incident involving Alex Linney in the number 30 car. But lights are out off of the pace truck, I believe. Yes, they are. So we'll be going back to green very shortly.
We're excited to have you with us here for the conclusion of today's racing action for the iRacing special event of the Firecracker 400, as we get set for 44 laps to go in today's race. And we're going to be excited to see how this all plays out.
So the field makes its way down the super stretch as we see a replay with Dalton Hayes in the number 33. And, well, that was definitely a good bit of an avoidance from Dalton, keeping out of harm's way, as we see the very forlorn number 9 car, which had front and rear end damage. David L. Brown in the number 9 car, who actually started in 26th position when we went green 116 laps ago. Going to see possibly a big save from Todd Going in the number 13. So let's just see. So the accident happens in front of him, and he just went hammer down and just drifted the car a little bit to the left, and then goes to the grass, and then whoa, the car snaps on the back end in terms of traction, and he manages to take the de facto infield joker lap, does Todd Going, but manages to make a massive save in the number 13 car. Well held.
And as we go back to green flag racing here, Forrester will lead us here into turn number 1 as drivers try to jockey for position. Connolly and Babineau in hot pursuit, and then here comes the 39 machine, who's one of the lap cars trying to get back on the lead lap. Has a little bit of work to do, as here comes driver Brandon Sox, as they will try to make short work of the lap car and almost go wide down the back straightaway for the race lead.
Yeah, Babineau retakes the race lead, so Benjamin Forrester not getting the best possible run on that restart, and he's now dropped down to 6th position, possibly make that now 7th, with Roethlisberger in the number 22 car getting through for the 6th spot. And then there's Aaron Smith, the 2nd, who also gets through. Tyndall's not that far behind. No way to say who's going to win this race with 42 to go. Make that 41 after this lap. As Brandon Sox in the 31 now hits the front. Jaden Hopp looking to the low side of John Babineau in the number 23. Gets through for the 2nd spot and is going to take the tow from Brandon Sox as he goes wheels to wheel, the 23 Waffle House machine, into turn 3. We haven't seen Jaden Hopp be at the sharp end of the field, not even having taken the race lead, but I think this might be the highest position he's gathered all night so far. He's up to P2, but again, it's wheel to wheel between 2nd and 3rd position. To the low side is Hopp, to the high side is Babineau. Brandon Sox is holding on for dear life at the moment for the race lead. As once again, these drivers absolutely flat chat, full throttle. Babineau to the high side of Brandon Sox. And here comes Jaden Hopp. Can he get the run here? Can he make it 3 wide for the race lead? He's bump drafting Brandon Sox down the super stretch. He's going to possibly see if there's a window of opportunity. No, not quite, because Brandon Sox parks the car on the low side. Babineau to the high side of Hopp holds on to 2nd for the meantime, and they are dropping Blake Neer, who's about half a second or so, as Babineau back to the race lead to the low side of Brandon Sox. And here comes the run from Jaden Hopp in the number 4 car.
Good run for the race lead here as they try to just separate themselves from the rest of the field. It seems to be working in their favor right now, as Jaden Hopp and Babineau with Brandon Sox are just continuing to stretch out the race lead for the time being. Blake Neer and Aaron Smith are doing everything they can to close the gap, but so far to no avail, as everyone else further on back is jockeying for positions.
Top 27, well, look at this, top 26. Covered by 6.5 seconds, rounded out by the 21 of Zach Range. And we have 40 laps to go. And that's 100 miles. 1/4 left of the Firecracker 400. And still the top 3, they've broken away big time, because Aaron Smith the 2nd and the number 5 bright yellow machine is 7/6 back or so. And look at this, Babineau and Sox, they're trying to break the toe for Jaden Hopp. And Jaden Hopp is about 3/10 behind P2 at the moment. So this is where we're starting to see, as you rightly said, Taylor, we would see some spread out between some of the field, but I wouldn't have expected that the top 3 would start making a big run for it with this late stage of the race still to go.
Well, this is one of the important things. You know, we see it in all forms of racing, I would have to say. When you start battling with each other, you're losing time on the competitors behind you. That allows them to close the gap up and really make a charge to gain up on your positioning, compared to if these drivers that we're seeing up towards the front of the field who are not battling, they're trying to separate themselves, pull away, work together, and it's working in the favor for drivers such as Babineau and Sox. Hopp starting to fall under pressure from Aaron Lewis, because he's now got a great help from the draft with help from Ted Lowendick and James Connolly, and they're slowly going to catch up to Jaden Hopp. But if Howe is working right now, if they keep playing this card, not battling with Babineau and Sox, they could just make it a 2-horse race.
Well, we did see that save from Todd Going in the number 13 a little bit earlier on. Well, he is now up into 7th position, and he's closing in on James Connolly for 6th position, and he's looking to the inside now. This could be an opportunity for Todd Going to get himself into the top 6, which he has just achieved, but not by much, as Connolly's going to get the side draft around the outside of him. And here comes Roethlisberger in the number 22. He gets through on Going. He now drops down to the 8th spot, but again, Going gets that side draft once more on the 22. He's ahead by a nose, but this is going to be very much the case of Babino's holding on to the race lead. Here comes Lowendick to the inside of Jaden Hopp. This is for third on the road, and he's going to get ahead, but not by much as they go through. And still at this high speed, this is going to be crucial. So Lowendick now up into the third spot in the number 28 car. He's going to try and pull along those behind him, because what Lowendick will want is that he'll want strength in numbers. Of course, they're all battling for victory lane, but if you can indirectly bring your opposition along with you for the ride, it means that you've got more opportunity to position your car in the right place, right time. 36 laps to go, and still it is very much undecided. But Babino has been, I think he's probably the person that has been the most surprising in many respects, because he was the one that made it 4 wide for the race lead. He's been there at the sharp end for the majority of this race, and bearing in mind he started on the outside of the 12th row, about halfway through the field in the mid-pack, and he's at the sharp end.
He's doing a great job of that right now as they work their way through, and everyone's now starting to compress back together again for this final push. And now we see Jaden Hopp working with Ted Lowendick. How about Blake Neer now trying to fight his way back up through? He'll tuck to the inside with help from Aaron Smith as they make a charge for the run to the top 5.
Yeah, this is nip and tuck at the moment, and look, you can see that's probably about the top 15, including the number 26 of Justin Melillo, who's now up into 11th. So well done to Justin. He's up. Make that now 25 positions from P36 on the start, as 34 to go. I think, have we got another caution out? Yes, we have. There's a couple of cars off in the background.
Now one driver has looped it around at the bottom of the racetrack. That's Dalton Hayes in the 33 machine. Having a quiet night, but unfortunately gets caught up in an incident here. We'll hopefully get a look at the replay to see what happens. And now we are closing in on a tight fight for the finish here with 34 laps to go. Let's see what happens to Dalton Hayes. And heading into turn 1 and 2. Car gets a little bit tight, then loose. Contact, and around he goes into the outside wall. One other driver also gets collected up in it, and that will be a day done possibly for Dalton Hayes.
Yeah, it looks like the left front has picked up some damage for Dalton Hayes there, Taylor. So yeah, it's a real shame for him, as the iRacing pace truck will collect our race leader with 33 to go. John Babino in the number 23 has put on one hell of a performance, but you cannot count out the likes of Sox, Lowendick, Hopp, Smith II. Near has been either near or far, depending on what stage of the race he's been competing in. Roethlisberger, Conley, Going, Helton, Melillo and Hughes, they ran at the overall top 10. We have a look on the onboard from Nathan Barrows, and he ends up, as a result of that incident, getting a little bit of a hip check. But manages to gather up the number 11.
And with that, we are now closing in on a few more drivers who have ended their night. Under 30 cars are left out on the racetrack. And how about Gabriel Pellegrino, who we touched on? He was the first driver to get caught up in an incident. He's now back inside the top 30 now. He is 5 laps down, but he is the first car to be 1 lap down or more. So he can have a chance to maybe go work his way through, maybe pick up a couple of more spots if some more drivers have issues, as more drivers make their way onto pit road. There you see Logan Helton, Aaron Smith already up on the jacks as Octavio Rondaletto comes in his pit box.
Oh, when he misses it and has to reverse back in, so good slam on the brakes, throwing the anchors out the back of the number 3 car. So, yeah, it's going to, and here we go, 3 wide race out of pit road again. Oh, but it looks like, well, it might be the fact that, well, Zach Range is showing in the pits now, is in there, and he's, now I'm wondering if Zach Range has picked up some kind of possible pit lane speeding infraction because his pit stop is well over 40 plus seconds.
Yeah, it's looking like that he's getting some fix done. Zach Range is one of those drivers who's getting some much-needed repairs done, as Jaden Hopp, Ted Lowendike, Aaron Smith, Brennan Sock will be your top 4 as they return out onto the track. We'll see how else this will play for our competitors here as they continue to get themselves lined up. We should be going back green flag racing with 30 laps to go.
And it looks like Jaden Hopp has won the pit road battle and is going to be leading for the very first time out front without anyone trying to challenge him. But he's got Ted Lowendick right behind him. So yeah, this is going to be really, really crucial. John Babineau came out what will effectively end up being 6th position. So yeah, this is going to be crucial. We're just over, well, what is it, 32? We've got 32 laps to go, make that 31 as we're going to cross the stripe again. So yeah, I'm going to be really interested to see how this restart is going to play out. It's going to be single file like we've touched on earlier on, but who is going to be the one that's going to be right place, right time with a handful of laps to go and make it work?
Field now getting themselves ready to go back at it once again. Hopp, Lowendick, Smith, Sox, and Roethlisberger right there ready to go racing once again for the final time, hopefully for here in caution conditions. Hopefully we can make it to the finish here in these next 30 laps.
But once again, the restart is crucial to that restart, and we've seen that time and time again, that if you do get the initial run, you've got to break that toe, I think probably by having at least 0.6 of a second of an advantage. But we've seen it, Rondeletto has tried to break the toe, got 0.4 ahead of John Babineau before Babineau started closing on in, and closed in very, very quickly, within half a lap here at Daytona. So it is not easy to get that perfect restart, and no restart is perfect. Every driver will be thinking, okay, well, what are my tyres looking like? How is my fuel level looking? It's going to be crucial now with a lot of drivers. I mean, I'm seeing now that Zach Roethlisberger has come into the pit road 9 times. Nathan Barrows and Josh Cruz have come in for 10 stops altogether over the course of the race so far. But pace truck into pit road, we're ready to go back to green.
Green flag is back out in the air as Jaden Hopp gets a good hop and skip and a jump away from the top of the group here. But let's see how quickly Ted Lowendick will close the gap, as here comes Brandon Sox, not taking no for an answer. He will go 3 wide with the lap car down through the middle and now dives to the bottom to take the race lead away from Jaden Hopp. He's got help from Aaron Smith too as they head down the Daytona Superstretch. More drivers zigging and zagging their way around the circuit, screaming as they head down into turns 3 and 4.
Oh, look at that run that Logan Helton just got, and he got blocked by Brandon Sox. It was the number 39, Vincent Rossetti, I think, that was the car that was the lap vehicle. But here we go. It's all kicking off again. 30 to go here at Daytona. And this is going to be crucial. These next 30 laps will decide who will be the winner of the 2026 Firecracker 400 here at the World Centre of Racing. But it is Jaden Hopp who's leading the field, and he's gone to the high side. But Brandon Sox is going to try and get that slipstream out of turn 2, down the super stretch once again. 3 wide nearly at the bottom part of the top 10. But Mozart still a little bit further in front. Here comes Logan Helton to the inside of the number 5, takes 3rd away from Aaron Smith the 2nd. He's got Todd going in the number 13, who's decided to go to the high side to cover off Ted Lowendick. And then Michael P. Frisch is back into it. The number 1 car, now running 6th, is hoping for his opportunity as they come down through in towards the stripe once again. this is getting so close into turn 1, into turn 2. And Aaron Smith II to the inside of Todd Going, who's now up into 3rd position, up 29 positions so far. And that is going to be Aaron Smith II, who's lost a lot of real estate. He went off coming out of turn 2 onto the super stretch. And that is not going to play well into his game plan.
No, it's not, but hopefully he can gather it back up and find his way through. Hopefully he didn't lose too much of the draft. As I'm looking through, he's not even in this big lead back right now, so he's going to have to wait for a caution. Let's see a look at the replay. Gets a little bit of the help possibly right here as they come off corner exit. Car gets a little tight, and then boom, he just has to duck down to the bottom of the racetrack. And look at all the positioning he is going to lose here as he quickly tries to regain control of his car. Unfortunately, he is going to lose the lead draft and chance to win here at Daytona.
Well, between the top 3 at the moment, the average amount of places gained, well, between the top 4, well, when it was the top 3, between Going, Sox and Hop was over 30 places average. It was 92 total spots gained between the top 3 a couple of moments ago. But Todd Going now drops down into 4th position. Lowendick now up into P3, and look at the line. The top 6 drivers, and here comes Logan Helton to the inside of Todd Going. Is going to get through, and this is going to allow Michael P. Frisch to get the draft, go along with him. And there's no space, there's a wreck behind, and that is going to be involving, I think, probably the number 22, Roethlisberger, and it's caused another caution. The 23, oh dear, John Babineau's car, 3 wheels on that wagon. The right front wheel has ripped asunder from the chassis.
There it goes.
And that is going to, yeah, there it is, rolling down. But John Babineau, who had been in contention in the Waffle House 23, that is his race done.
A tough break right there for John Babineau, one of our main front runners. Safe to say it's going to be an early day to head to the Waffle House. It's still open, so that's good news for him. Bad news is he won't be celebrating in Victory Lane with a shot of this, as we are under caution for our 7th time of the night, if I recollect.
Yeah, I think so. But now this is going to give people an opportunity if they want to get those if they haven't got those new tyres on already. I know that William Tyndall was in for a very short pit stop. He was stationary in pit road for just over 5 seconds. And so maybe this might be his chance to put on a new set of tyres, because everyone else was in the pits for anywhere between 21.1 seconds and 23.5 seconds. There we see the replay, just Babineau caught up, and it was involving the 22 car as well, and that was Roethlisberger. So 2 of the drivers that have been battling the sharp end for the field for top honours here in the Firecracker 400, both of them find themselves collecting each other, and unfortunately it's game over.
Certainly is going to be game over for him, as well as several other competitors, as they will end up taking it behind the wall. As we watch them work their way through, Alex Linney, Zach Roethlisberger have ended their night as well here today. For the drivers of Gabriele Pellegrino and Vincent Rossetti, they're going to try and pick up a couple of more laps here as they work their way through. Logan Helton on pit road along with James Connolly and company, as Babineau is doing everything he can to try to fix his car, but I think it's safe to say day done. Blake Neer also working on his machine. Aaron Smith got a lucky break even after his issue, has found a way to find his way back up into the front field and into the mix for a chance of winning here at Daytona.
And still, the tension is so palpable you can cut it with a hot knife through ice cold butter right about now, with 24 laps to go here. It's still, I mean, I have to say that Jaden Hopp and Brandon Sox, Ted Lowendick, Benjamin Forrester in the number 19 STP machine is there. William Tyndall in the 37 Axalta machine is also there in the top 5. And Justin Melillo, well, welcome to the top 10. He's in P6 now in the 26 car. He's ahead of Brad Newman, who has been keeping himself in contention, as we're going to see an onboard with Gabriele Pellegrino. And this is him trying to avoid all the madness that was happening in front of him. Takes to the grass. Oh! Talk about get out of jail free card there for the number 12 Mellow Yellow entry.
Absolutely, and he is going to continue on with his run here and try to see if he can break a couple of more spots. He might have a shot to maybe, depending on how things go, break into the top 25 before this is all said and done.
Yeah, I think you might be right there. Currently sitting 28th according to our live timing and scoring screens that we see at the moment. But what a crazy race it's been so far. But still, it has been one to not forget for a very long time indeed before it all happens again next year.
Absolutely, and we hope to see some exciting more events, some new ideas for the 2027 special event calendar. If I will say, you know, we've been running the 1987 stock cars here for the Firecracker 400. You know what? Why not go a little bit further into the future and maybe bring out the Gen 4 stock cars to run around here? That would be a fun one to watch, and then make it under the lights like it was back in 1998. Have a little fun there, as well as also where the Gen 4 cars are usually their date for from the 2003 era.
Not a bad shout there at all, Taylor. I do have to say.
So, but we're excited to see how the rest of the 2026 campaign will go for the special events still to come. Of course, the Spa 24 is next weekend, followed, of course, by the Brickyard 400, and, of course, the 6 hours of Road America getting set to kick off another run here in July. As the lights are out on the pace car, we will go back green flag racing with 22 laps to go in this race. And we'll see how this all plays out and who will end up the winner of this run of the Firecracker 400 here in 2026. Jaden Hopp, Brandon Sox, Ted Lowendick, Benjamin Forrester, William Tyndall, your top 5. Justin Malillo looking to try to score one for the iRacing group in 6th position. And then, of course, Brad Newman, Jacob Klein, and Nathan Barrows, and Octavio Rondoletto. There you see the 39 machine trying to see if he can have a shot of working his way through. That's Vincent Rossetti, who is trying to get one of his 10 laps back.
Yeah, he was also there on the previous restart as well, if memory serves me correctly, Taylor. So that's why he's not in the traditional single file rolling start on the restart here. But we're ready to go back to green as Pace Truck is in pit road.
Green flag is back out, and Jaden Hopp gets a good jump on the field, but how long can he do it? It's trouble in the back half of the field. One driver has some issues, and already the caution is back out. Forrester machine of the 19. How about also a couple of more drivers? Ted Lowendick, Logan Helton. A tough break for several of our front runners caught up in this early running.
Oh. Well, I mean, the only thing I can say here, Taylor, is sometimes cautions do breed cautions. We've been, you know, with regards to I think that's caution number 8 of the evening, we've had a bit of a space out between cautions, whereas literally we've gone straight back to green and all of a sudden it's happened again. But it's getting to that point where these drivers have been racing for more than 2 hours plus, and there's a lot of, you know, you've got to say to these drivers, they've been absolutely epic with what they've done. But there we see on the restart, Forrester gets into the back of Lowendick, and then all of a sudden, number 7 Brad Newman gets spun around, 2 wheels in the air, Knight Rider ski mode style. And then there's cars in avoidance, including the Ford Thunderbird with the City Chevrolet livery on it. And yeah, then in comes the pace truck.
Was that, though, that will change the outlook of some of our drivers who we thought might have a shot to recover and possibly end the night of some of the other competitors, as they now have to find a way to see if they can continue on or if this is the end for them. So close to the finish. That's the tough heartbreak right there for some of them, is just how close they are to the finish and get collected. Incident right there. Our second one up towards the front of the field, mind you.
Yeah, but as they say, to finish first you must finish. And at the moment, Jaden Hopp is keeping his nose clean, and that's going to be quite crucial to the next restart, because we don't have that long left for this race to go. 20 laps remaining. It's going to be 19 when we cross the line next time, as the lights are still on the iRacing pace truck here at the World Centre of Racing. But when you think about it, you look at who's made it through. Looks like Brad Newman did pick up damage and has ended up in the pit lane again. So, tough rate for the number 7 from Australia there. I mean, once again, another incident, one of which not hit of his own making. He just got caught up in the crossfire. That just goes to show how tough the brakes are.
Absolutely here, as we will now hopefully get back to green with under 20 laps to go, but still a lot is up in the air to determine how this will all play out for each one of these competitors left to compete in tonight's action. Hop has decided to stay out on the racetrack along with Sox. Pretty much everyone inside the top 4 have decided to not come down pit road. Octavio Rondaletto is one of the first drivers who has made a pit stop with 4 laps to go. Jacob Klein, another driver who has decided not yet to pit.
Yeah, it's going to be those 5 out of the top 6, which does not include number 3, Octavio Rondaletto, back at the sharp end of the field. I mean, it's also been the fact of sometimes with the pit stops you have to be quite tactical, and if you can, you know, shave a little bit of time. And Rondaletto's last pit stop, which was 4 laps ago, total pit lane time was just under 37.1 seconds, just over 13.3 seconds in pit lane on his marks in his pit box. So if he's only taken one side of the tyres, it's going to be crucial as to which side he has decided to go for more to the point.
Absolutely, as we should be getting set to go back green flag racing this time by. A couple more drivers decided to come down pit road here. Zach Range on the pit box here as we get set to go back racing. But now we'll see if the driver of Jaden Hops and Brandon Sox can continue to fight it out for a chance of winning, or will someone else end up on the top step of the podium here as they come their way into turn 3 and 4, as the 12 machine right there is looking to try to get another lap back. How about this driver here? Got caught up in one of the early incidences for Gabriel Pellegrino. He is now inside the top 25 and looking for more chances to move up in the running order, as the pace car will make the hard left turn down onto pit road. Barney the Flagman will have the green flag set in the air and ready to go with under 20 laps to go for our competitors.
Yeah, and it's sort of been the comeback story, I think, of the evening, with Gabriel Pellegrino in the number 12 Mellow Yellow entry, now into the top 25 after what was a torrid opening lap. But he's made 5 pit stops so far. 13 laps he's been on those tyres, if it was a complete, which it looks like it was a complete set of new tyres. So it just depends on whether he can get a good restart in his own right, and if he can get ahead of Jaden Hopp. But then will that compromise the number 4 car in the bigger scheme of things? That's where you have to look at it. But very shortly it is going to be back to green flag racing. Pace truck in pit road as the Firecracker 400 under starter's orders. We're green once again as Jaden Hopp puts the pedal to the metal. Brandon Sox goes with him. William Tyndall gets the side draft with Justin Milillo and Octavio Rondaletto rounding out the top 5. And look at this, Tyndall to the low side. Sox covers him off with a perfect block. Goes to the low side and is going to get the over-under done on Jaden Hopp to retake the race lead out of turn 2 onto the super stretch, but it's going to be 3 wide possibly for the race lead. Bit of a wiggle there from Brandon Sox. He just about lost it, but kept a good old save and still holds on to the race lead. But here comes Michael P. Frisch. He's going to thread the eye of the needle. 3 wide for the race lead.
3 wide, and now Michael P. Frisch will take over the top spot here. Here comes James Connolly as well. He is looking to try to split the difference. He'll go 3 wide as they come across through the tri-oval with help from William Tyndall as they come across the line. How about Mitch Hughes and Blake Neer? All of them. You could throw a blanket over all of them and don't know who will come out on the top step here as they go 3 wide for second. Down through the middle of turns 1 and 2. Up on the high side, you have the driver of Michael P. Frisch closing in, nearly making contact with the driver of William Tyndall as we're now going to go 4 wide down the back straightaway. Blake Neer, there is no passing under yellow signs here as he comes across. He gets turned. He gets collected. Can we keep it green? And the answer is going to be no. Caution is out once again as Blake Neer, I gotta say, I love the enthusiasm right there, but still so much still left on the docket for these drivers. Don't know why you would throw it away like that, as more drivers also collected up in the incident. 16 laps to go. And of course here in this case, if we go back to the rule set of 1987, we got to be careful because there is going to be no overtime. So whenever this race hits a lap 2 or 160, it's game over. There is no restarts. There is nothing to help them. It is basically just going to be a race to the 160. No overtime whatsoever.
Yeah, and I mean the thing was, it was just the run that Brandon Sox I think got on the number 10 car. We're going to have a look at the replay here. So it's 4 wide. So you got Blake Neer to the low side. There's going to be a touch. There we go. And it's the touch from Brandon Sox that catapults Blake Neer into the 37 of Tyndall, and then the 24 Silver Bullet once again. Mitch Hughes in the Coors Light entry, and then it causes havoc behind, which also includes Gabriel Pellegrino, who has dodged a bullet and has not got a mechanical black flag, but there's cars spinning left, right, and center. The big one strikes again here at Daytona as we have 16, make that 15 to go when we cross the stripe next time. I think you're completely right in what you said, Taylor. At this late, it's like bottom of the 9th, bases loaded, 2 strikes, and you've got to hit a homer into left field. It's about now making that decision, as we're going to see a lot of bit of mental games going on there, because Conley and Fritsch went to go down pit road. They decided, no, going to turn right hand down and look at the right front of Mitch Hughes' car. That has seen better days.
Absolutely, it has certainly seen better days, as we will see who will be some of these drivers who will make repairs, who will continue on with the race, as Connolly, Frisch, Ron Deletto, and Thomas Reed will stay out on the racetrack, including Justin Malillo, James Seco, Logan Helton, Nathan Barrows, some of the other competitors who decided to stay out, Zach Range along with him as well.
Yeah, and that is a real shame to see the likes of the number 10 car, having that touch from behind. And you've got to feel for some of these drivers where, like Blake Neer, who has been running so consistently at the front end of the field. But again, it just comes to 2 sentences: right place, right time. And in that case, unfortunately for Blake, for Neer, he was in the wrong place, wrong time, got hit from behind, turns him into 2 other cars, and then causes a chain reaction.
Now we're seeing who is all left and looking through the field as far as who is on the track. It's a total of 11 drivers. Aaron Smith is still working on his car on pit road. Oof, this is going to be a little bit interesting to see who can get back going and who will go a lap down, as pace car has now entered in the tri-oval. A couple of cars are going to try and beat the pace car off pit road, as Aaron Smith and company, there you go, see a couple of drivers now leaving. It's going to be close for some of them, but I don't think are going to be up to full pace song before this is all said and done, as lights should go out on the pace car.
Yeah, one of the first ones I saw was the number 7 of Brad Newman. I've just seen Todd Going come out of the pit lane in the number 13 Ford Thunderbird. The right front fender does not look as it should do. It's seen better days, but he might still have confidence in that car despite that damage on the right front corner of it. But it's now down to James Conley, the number 15, who leads ahead of Michael P. Frisch, Octavio Rondeletto, Thomas B. Reed, Justin Milillo from iRacing in 5th position. What a job that Justin's done all night long, and he's up 31 places from 36 on the grid. Runs P5 ahead of James Checo, Logan Helton, Nathan Barrow, Zach Range, Zane Bailey, Josh Cruz. Brad Newman rejoins in 12th ahead of Ted Lowendick, Benjamin Forster. Brandon Sox rounds out the top 15. But the gap between Cruz and Newman is quite extensive. You're probably looking at about 16 seconds. So it is going to be between the top 11 when we go back to green very shortly with less than 15 laps remaining.
Hopefully these drivers can find a way to get themselves settled in and put on a good fight here, but only time will tell as they work their way around and get set for this final push to the finish.
But like we've said pretty much all night so far, Taylor, that it's been so difficult to call who is going to be the winner of the 2026 iRacing Firecracker 400, as there we see Mr. Pellegrino back on cue, taking up his customary spot. Pace truck in pit road. We're ready to go back to green.
And with that, the green flag is out, and we're back at it once again with James Connolly and Michael Frisch trying to pull away with Octavio Rondeletto. Help from Thomas Reed in 4th, as here comes Justin Milillo down to the bottom. He's got help from Logan Helton.
And Helton goes to the low side of the number 26. Barrows gets through on James Checo in the number 42. Zach Range, Josh Cruz ran out the top 10. And with everything being closed on in, Brad Newman is actually going to be there. He's in the 12th spot at the moment as Rondeletto to the low side gets through with a bit of a wobble from the Argentinian. He gets through on Thomas B. Reed, and he's now through on James Conley. He's got the slipstream on the side draft coming out of the corner as they go down the super stretch. Coming up to 12 laps to go. This is going to be crucial. Rondeletto at half a car length in front of Conley. It's now going to be the run through into turns 1 and 2 as they exit out of the tri-oval. And Conley to the high side. Rondeletto to the low side. He's got Thomas B. Reed trying to catch the draft, as Frisch is also trying to make his presence known as it's wheel to wheel between the top 2. Conley versus Rondeletto. Rondeletto losing out by a bit of a nose. Frisch trying to go to the outside, but an assist from Reed on the back bumper of Rondeletto pushes the Argentinian right back to the lead of the race, but he's not quite completed the move just yet, because out of turn 2, Conley back to the lead of the race. This is going to be crucial. Well, out of turn 4 and now across the stripe, Rondeletto just fractions ahead of Conley. 11 to go, including this one. And after this, well, it's going to be decision time here at the World Centre of Racing. Cannot believe we're coming down to the wire, and there are multiple drivers out of the top 11, maybe even make that the top 15, with Brandon Sox in 15th in the number 31 Hooters car. Can he make a bit of a surprise in the late stages of this race?
It's a mix of who's who wants it the most here, as these last few drivers are the ones who have survived the chaos from start to finish here at Daytona. It is going to be Rondeletto and Reed on the inside, Connolly and Frisch on the outside. It's a matter of who's got enough horsepower, who's got enough engine temperature, and who's got enough to be able to grit and hold on for dear life these final 10 laps to the finish. As they work their way out of turn number 2, it's Rondeletto who has the nose over Connolly. Connolly, though, with a big push from Michael Frisch as they ride on board with Thomas Reed, and that bar visual machine is trying to push the number 15 down the Daytona Superstretch. Here come some more drivers: James Seco, Zach Range, and Josh Cruz. Some drivers who we haven't talked about all night long, but have survived the chaos and are looking to find their way and etch themselves into glory here at the Firecracker 400.
Yeah, this is going to be really, really close. James Checo in the number 42 with the Tabasco signage all across the hood and the trunk of that car. He's trying to see if he can throw his 2 cents into the ring as he's to the inside of Logan Helton in the number 6 car. But 9 to go. This is going to get crazy. Quicker than you can say the word jump as Rondeletto still keeping wheel to wheel with Conley. To the low side goes the Argentinian. Gets ahead by a nose. They are rubbing paint right now. This is still way too close to call. Put your bets in, folks. Who do you think is going to be the winner of this year's iRacing Firecracker 400? As it's going to be 8 to go. And Rondeletto still hanging on. Conley just a nose ahead. And here we get the aerial shot. Just how close in terms of proximity, and a little rub between Conley and Rondeletto. Rondeletto, as a result of that, gets a little bit of an advantage. He's got Thomas B. Reed right behind him in the number 2. Updrafting him along. There's also James Checo in the number 42 car to the low side. There's a couple of cars scattering here or there. But 8 to go, and Rondeletto and Conley are literally interlocked at the wheel nuts.
It is anyone's guess here as they head down the Daytona Superstretch. A couple of lap cars are up ahead as they try to make short work. Rondeletto's putting the squeeze on James Connolly. Can he be able to hold on here for this stage of the race as they are pushing, poking, prodding, finding a way, that little weakness in the armor that you see at the front of the field? That is what Michael Frisch and Thomas Reed are looking for, along with Helton and Zach Range as they head down the Daytona Superstretch. A couple of drivers trying to work their way through, looking to see if they can find the right dance partner for this final segment.
Yeah, one of the cars they just had to get through was the number 13 of Todd Going. As to the low side of Thomas Reed comes Logan Helton in the number 6 car. But Conley back in the race lead ahead of Rondeletto. Reed and Helton now swap positions. Helton now into P3, is looking to the inside line on Rondeletto, with coming up to 7 to go. Make that 6 to go. This is going to be down to the wire as Conley still holds on. Here comes Helton to the low side of the number 15 car. Can he get the move done? That's the crucial thing, but don't count out Rondeletto. Don't count out Frisch. Don't count out Reed, Range, Checo, Bailey, Barrows, Lowendick. Rounding out your overall top 10 with Cruz and Smith the second. Rounding out the overall top 12. And someone has got to pull the trigger. Someone has got to make that move that will decide everything that's going to happen in the next 5.5 laps that are remaining.
Here coming to get the big high five from Barney the Flagman. It is 5 laps to go, and Logan Helton is doing everything that he can. He's got a teammate to help him out a little further on as the Bar Vision machine is just trying to work his way through to hold on for dear life in this final push to the checkered flag. It's all for nothing here, as these drivers know if a caution does come out, it would be game over for each and every single one of these competitors in tonight's race. The chance to glory. Who will be the one at the front of the field? We're going to find out as James Connolly leads them out of turn number 4, but here comes a big push from Logan Helton as he gets some help from Michael P. Frisch with on Rondeletto and Reed around the outside trying to make that final run to the checkered flag.
Rondeletto's got to make sure he doesn't get pit boxed in, so to speak. But can he capitalise as nearly a swap of paint between Connolly and Helton. Helton now gets ahead by a front bumper. At this moment, we ride on board with this is going to be, I think this is going to be Thomas Reed. Yes, it is, in the number 2 car, and he's getting a big old draft from the Argentinian in front of him, Octavio Rondeletto, who is trying to hold on and try and see where he can park the vehicle in order to get the opportunity that will propel him to victory lane. But there's a couple of back markers just in front. This is going to split the pack a little bit here, one of which was the Silver Bullet, number 24 Mitch Hughes, still damaged on the front end of that number 24 Coors Light car. But here we go. Frisch is now going to start to try and see if he can push. Oh no, that's going to be James Checo hits the back marker, and the number 42 Tabasco car loses the back and front end, and it causes a collision with a caution now. 3 to go. That also involves Gabriel Pellegrino, who was caught up in the incident, and the number 5 of Aaron Smith II, who's lost both front and rear fascias on that car.
Well, with that, that's going to probably put us ending under yellow here for the action here. That looks like to give. Waiting for timing and scoring to update for the most part. James Connolly is shown as the race leader when they came around to take the yellow flag. So I think it's safe to say when they come back around, James Connolly will be your race winner here today for the Firecracker 400. But it was not without a bit of effort and dealing with immense pressure from drivers such as Logan Helton and Michael P. Frisch, two competitors who we've seen compete at some of the highest echelons of racing. As we take a look at the replay, and yep, just right about here as they were approaching lap traffic around the outside, and then here comes the issues, the contact with the lap car, and just some major issues trying to hold on to it, but unfortunately car got a little too loose, collecting Aaron Smith and of course Pellegrini and company. A tough break for some of our drivers who were looking forward to finishing this race out strong.
Yeah, the car involved was the number 41 of Jerry Turner, down in 17th spot, but that is a real shame. And that just goes to show when backmarker traffic gets involved, they're kind of in a pinch, because you've got to sort of show, they've got to sort of, you know, have a bit of spatial awareness about them. And I'm not throwing anybody under the bus here, it's just basically when you deal with backmarkers, the backmarkers have to be very cautious about what they do. But if you're on the oncoming traffic and you're the faster vehicle, you've also got to have that due diligence of making sure that you get through nice and cleanly. But unfortunately, that has now put us onto the white flag lap.
For the final time here, it's not the way we wanted to have finished, but it was still an exciting race here from the 160 laps around the World Center of Racing. But for James Connolly, he has to deal with adversity. He had to deal with the possibilities of attrition and also the chaos of what we know of super speedway racing here at Daytona. He held off some of the biggest names in stock car racing in the virtual world, whether it be racing the next generation of stock cars or going back into the 1980s as we see here today. He was able to hold them off and looks to take home the checkered flag here at Daytona as we watch James Connolly lead behind the pace car as a couple of other drivers don't know what they're doing, but they will continue on their way.
That was Todd going past at quite a rather rapid rate of speed.
He's
in the number 30.
Going and gone. I was waiting to say that all night long, so might as well do it.
I know, and we both nearly synced up on that one as well, Sailor, to be completely honest with you. But yeah, it's like it's like an auctioneer's gavel about to be banged on the table saying going, and gone.
Yeah.
But still, yeah, I mean, what an exciting Firecracker of 400 it's been here in 2026, and it's been a pleasure to call it alongside you as well here on iRacing. It's been an absolute pleasure being part of the broadcast team here tonight, and big thank you to everyone that's been watching along.
Absolutely. Well, for the final time, after 160 laps, 400 grueling miles here in Central Florida, back in 1987, it was Bobby Allison who took home the checkered flag. But here in 2026, it will be James Connolly in a Ford Thunderbird that will capture the flag and win the iRacing Firecracker 400 here at Daytona. Logan Helton, Michael P. Frisch will round out your podium finishers with Rondeletto and Thomas Reed, your top five, in an incredible fashion. And of course, James Connolly will go out there and celebrate in style. You, sir, are a winner of an iRacing special event.
And we can all do this. Take a big sigh of relief. 160 laps in the books, but this man starting on the inside of row number 6 takes the W here at the Firecracker 400 at the World Center of Racing. James Connolly, I mean, the thing is that you could have bet on any one of those top 6 at least to have been in competition for the win, but there has to be, unfortunately, one winner at the end of the day, Taylor.
Absolutely. For everyone else, well, you know what? You guys get another chance of doing this. Once again, Sunday morning, you can have the chance to run the Open setup race. That will be the Firecracker 400. Or if you want to go have your chance to run the fixed setup, there's 2 more sessions for you tomorrow. One in the early morning hours, about the next 4 hours from now. You can have your shot at it. Or actually 5 hours from now at 6 a.m. Eastern Time or 1 o'clock Eastern Time for those wanting to compete on 4th of July to celebrate the Firecracker 400, as beautiful burnouts here from James Connolly on the Daytona infield. And we'll let him go and celebrate in style as we get set to give you your full field rundown of tonight's racing action. After 160 laps, it goes to James Connolly, your winner, followed by Logan Helton, Michael P. Frisch, and Octavio Rondaletto. Thomas Reed, your top 5, with Zach Range, Nathan Barrows, the Estonian, coming home in 7th, with Ted Lowendick, Zane Bailey, and Josh Cruz rounding out your top 10.
Then turning the page, Justin Milillo from iRacing finishes 11th, ahead of Benjamin Forrester, Dalton Hayes, Brandon Sox. Australia's Brad Newman rounding out the overall top 15 with Jacob Klein, Todd Going, Jerry Turner, Mitch Hughes, and Aaron Smith II rounding out the top 20.
21st will be James Secco, followed by Jaden Hopp. Gabriel Pellegrino will come home in a 23rd position after having some early opening lap situations. Vincent Rossetti from Kuwait will be in 24th. Blake Neer, the Canadian, in 25th, with William Tyndall, John Babineau, Zach Roethlisberger, Alex Klein, the Scotsman, and David Brown also having some issues. Hayden Swank, Vincent Bruin, Brandon Cattell, one of your front runners, Sean Butler also out of the race, with Caleb O'Connor and Chris Jenkin, Rhino Harris, Dustin Karras, Aaron Raymond, and Trey James also, and Blake Tidwell and Nolan Hodgson out of the races as well, with Brandon Cattell setting the fastest lap of the race. Alex, I want to come to you here for final thoughts as we take a look at some of the B-roll footage of some of the amazing action we saw here at Daytona back in 1987, where we saw horsepower take hold and really take off, as this was the final year before we saw restrictor plates being put on these heavily amazing stock cars.
I mean, the Firecracker 400 this year has been what it is, a firecracker. It really has provided great close quarter racing with the strength of field north of 5K iRacing. We saw some great passes for the race lead. We saw 4 wide for the race lead at one point. But it just goes to show that still bringing back the glory days of Winston Cup yesteryear is always something good to see here on iRacing.
Absolutely. Joining us up here in the booth is going to be Logan Helton, who joins us. Logan, I gotta say, you put on one incredible fight for the finish, but unfortunately just a little bit short.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Really felt like I had the car to take that away from James there at the end. I could tell his handling was getting away from him slightly. Maybe not even getting away from him, just mine was getting into its golden era, like right where it felt good. And yeah, it's just unfortunate. Those lap cars, I tried to warn down the backstretch the previous lap, just like, hey, if a caution comes out, it's going to end the race. It would be super awesome if y'all could get out the way. And one listened and the other didn't, and it's unfortunate the way it played out. I haven't even looked to see what the wreck was, so I don't know how egregious it was, but regardless, a yellow came out and ended my chance in trying to get the win there.
Well, the good news is, at least, Logan, you have a couple of more opportunities to do that.
Yeah, we got a couple more ones to do. Fun fact, I've done quite a few of these already this week, Firecracker 400s and just the 50-lap Legends Series, and I've only not wrecked in 2 of them. I won one of the 50-lap ones, and I finished second in the Firecracker 401. So it feels good to finally finish a Firecracker 400 so far this week, and it was the broadcast that won, so I can't complain about that.
Absolutely. Well, before we let you go, Logan, anyone like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, just thanks to you guys for putting on the broadcast, iRacing for bringing the Firecracker 400 to the service, making it a special event. It's a lot of fun to run these. This is my favorite car in the service. Got to thank my friends and family for watching. Thanks to Nexus Esports, David L. Brown, Jesse Atchison, all those guys for putting the setup together. E-Racer, the Money Lap, Numbers by Joe, and I stopped at Buc-ee's before the race today, got me a root beer and some of those pecans, those hot pecans. So thanks to that as well for fueling me before the race.
Being a Texan here, I gotta say you can't go wrong with a little bit of Buc-ee's before you get behind the wheel and race for 400 miles. So good on you there, Logan. Happy 4th of July to you, and we'll see you hopefully next time in a future event.
Absolutely. Thank you guys very much. Have a good one.
And we'll give a couple of seconds here, and I think we might get to talk to Michael P. Frisch, who joins us here, and he is with our very own Alex Goldschmidt.
Michael, it was so close to being, just a traditional finish across the line, but you ran out the podium here at the Firecracker 400. How are you feeling after what has been a very, very long race? I think the best part of nearly 2 3/4 hours.
Honestly, I'm just glad I finished with the car with 4 wheels, because, there were so many big wrecks throughout the race, and, that last one where I think we wrecked up inside the top 3 and took out a lot of cars, that was massive. So just to finish the race, that's an accomplishment. 160 laps here, that's tough.
Yeah, it's never easy. There were so many people in, so many strong people with, especially with the strength of field that we had over 5K average iRacing. It was nip and tuck, between myself and Taylor in the commentary box. We couldn't really figure out about who was going to get it across the line. But, the main thing is there was some great racing. We saw you do some great overtakes, some great bump drafting as well. And to have these 1987 Winston Cup cars back on for the Firecracker 400, it just really brings back the old days of NASCAR, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, this is one of those cars where it feels really rewarding to not only get through a race like this, but to win it and just finish good. It's really, really difficult. You would not expect us to be going 3 and 4 wide sometimes in this car, but these guys managed to do it, and we held it sometimes. Sometimes we didn't, but for the most part, it was some really good racing tonight. A lot of overtaking, a lot of slingshot, as you would say. But overall, this event is prestigious of its own. It's very, we go back to when we did the Firecracker with E-Racer put on, where we had to do the whole solo queue, and just to have iRacing notice that and notice that community is it's pretty cool.
Well, congratulations on finishing 3rd here after a very, very testing race at the Firecracker 400. Before we let you go, anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Just my guys over at North Force Racing and Bar Visuals on the car. Those guys are they're pretty cool, man. They allow me to race and show off these cool paints and allow them to be on their Coke teams and all that. So shout out to them, boys.
Brilliant. Michael, thanks so much for your time. We look forward to catching up with you in the not too distant future. Well done tonight.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
An incredible night of action here, as we really were excited to watch all the action in tonight's race. Alex, come to you right quick for final thoughts as we get set to look forward to the next event here on the iRacing special event calendar, and it's a big one. It's the Spa 24 hours at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, and I gotta say, if it's going to be anything like we saw at the real Spa 24 last weekend, it is going to be an exciting one. GT3s around this historic sports car track that has provided so many classic moments.
Yes, the iRacing Spa 24 hours is going to be an absolute classic, and you are not going to want to miss it, because it will be broadcasted twice around the clock. It really is. It's an event that I've caught up with over the last few weekends, but don't forget, it starts July the 11th, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, as we get set for GT3 action, panel rubbing, door banging, and GT3s as the tour de force around the Ardennes forests of Belgium.
Absolutely. Catch all the action here as we get set for this incredible race. But for our incredible crew here at RaceSpotTV and along with iRacing, of course, Alex Goldschmidt is my amazing commentator here tonight. Of course, we can't forget our amazing producer, Ramiro, joining us. I'm Taylor Burris. Thank you so much for tuning in to RaceSpot's coverage of the iRacing Firecracker 400. We'll see you in a week's time as we get set for a twice around the clock at the Spa.